Women do this when pretending not to like a guy. She likes you, really. Psychology tricks. Love is composed of a single soul inhabiting two bodies. Aristotle. Let's be honest. Trying to solve mixed signals by guessing is a fast way to drain your confidence and waste your time. If a woman likes you but doesn't want to show her cards yet, it usually won't look like obvious flirting. It often looks like the opposite. Small power moves, tiny retreats, that casual, I don't care act that somehow still keeps you hooked. And here's the key. When she actually likes you but is pretending she doesn't, her behavior becomes strangely consistent. Not random, not chaotic. It follows patterns, repeatable, predictable patterns, once you know what to watch for. In this video, I'm going to break those patterns down so you stop misreading her distance as rejection and start responding in a way that makes her feel emotionally safe enough to step closer. Because one final signal matters more than all the rest. It tells you whether her no is truly the end or whether it's a test, a pause, a guarded door that might open only if you handle it like a grounded man. Before we jump in, hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. 1. She ends the moment right when it turns good. When a woman is pretending not to like you but actually does, one of the clearest signals shows up in a moment most men completely misread. She ends the interaction right when it starts to feel good, not because she's uninterested, but because it's starting to feel too real for her comfort. You're at a friend's birthday party. The noise fades into the background. The conversation suddenly clicks. Your body relaxes. Her laughter becomes natural instead of polite, and her eyes stay locked on yours just a little longer than necessary. And then, right at the peak, she checks her phone, mentions grabbing her coat, or invents a reason to disappear for several minutes. Most men instantly label that as rejection and start scrambling for control. But that reaction ignores the basics of female psychology and misses one of the most subtle psychology tricks at play. Don't assume distance equals disinterest. Be calm. That is the moment where emotional exposure begins to rise. And for many women, that internal warmth triggers self-protection rather than pursuit. She's not leaving because the connection failed. She's stepping away because it succeeded too quickly. In female psychology, attraction doesn't always move forward in a straight line. It often pulls back to regulate emotion, especially when she hasn't decided yet how safe it feels to let herself fall. You must resist the urge to chase, follow, text, or mentally spiral, because chasing tells her the moment owned you, and that quietly collapses the tension. Stay exactly where you are. Hold your posture. Keep your energy grounded. When she returns, and she often does, your response matters more than anything that happened before. Smile lightly. Don't interrogate. Don't perform. Simply acknowledge her absence with relaxed curiosity, something human and unthreatening like, "You vanished on me, everything okay?" Then shift the frame with something simple and present, such as, "Come stand with me for a second." This shows emotional steadiness without pressure, a core principle in how to fall in love without forcing it. If instead you punish her with emotional withdrawal, sarcasm, or later send anxious messages trying to recreate the moment, the quiet opening she created closes just as quietly, not with drama, but with finality. That's why these psychology tricks aren't about manipulation. They're about understanding pacing, regulation, and emotional safety. Be steady when the moment wobbles. Be grounded when the energy shifts. That is how you communicate strength without words. And that is why men who understand female psychology don't rush attraction. They allow it to breathe. When you respond with calm instead of urgency, you show her that connection doesn't overwhelm you. And paradoxically, that's often what makes her feel safe enough to want more. 2. She makes a joke the second it starts feeling real. 2. She makes a joke the second it starts feeling real. And this moment quietly separates men who understand emotional pacing from men who unknowingly break it. Picture this. You're walking her to her car after a date that felt unexpectedly good. Not loud, not flashy, just real. The air is cold. Your hands are in your pockets. There's that subtle pause where something could happen if no one rushes it. You say something honest, nothing dramatic, just a clean sentence that comes from presence instead of performance. And right away, she turns it into a joke. "Aw, look at you getting sentimental," she says, teasing you like a little brother instead of a man she might replay in her head later. Most men hear that tone shift and immediately retreat. They assume they crossed a line. They assume sincerity was a mistake. Don't do that. Be grounded. That joke is not dismissal. That is protection. When she likes you, the stakes rise, and her mouth reaches for humor the same way a hand reaches for a rail in the dark. This is where understanding how to attract women quietly matters. In moments like this, female behavior isn't about mockery, it's about control. Her internal dialogue is basically, if I laugh, I don't have to blush. Humor becomes a safety helmet. It lets her deflect exposure without fully shutting the door. That is why a high-value man doesn't explain himself and doesn't get embarrassed. Don't apologize for sincerity. Don't overcorrect. Don't rush forward either. You must hold the line with warmth and just a touch of spine. Something simple, something grounded, something like, "Yeah, I'm allowed one sincere sentence per evening. Don't ruin my streak." Then stop. Let 2 seconds of silence sit there. Silence matters. Silence signals that a confident person lives in your body. That pause communicates masculine energy without saying a word, and that energy is what allows her nervous system to relax. Here's the consequence most men never see coming. If you collapse into apology, "Sorry, that was dumb," she doesn't think you're polite. She learns that emotional weight makes you wobble, and wobble feels unsafe. If you push for a kiss right after her joke, she learns you can't read pacing. You skip the signal, you broke the rhythm. But if you stay calm and lightly playful, you teach her something powerful. It's safe to stop performing around you. That is how you attract women who want something real, not just attention. Watch closely what happens next. The jokes soften, the teasing loses volume, and instead of humor, she starts hiding behind logic instead. Questions, rational statements, little explanations. That's the next layer. Different shield, same attraction. A high-value man recognizes this shift and doesn't flinch. Don't chase reassurance. Be present. That is how masculine energy stabilizes the moment. You must understand this isn't about clever lines. It's about emotional steadiness. When she jokes instead of leaning in, she's not pushing you away. She's checking whether you can stay centered while she hides. Pass that test, and you don't need to force chemistry. You allow it, and that's how attraction deepens without pressure. 3, she gets weirdly fair with you like you're on trial. When a woman gets strangely fair with you, as if you're suddenly on trial, don't misread it as disinterest, because this is often what happens when she likes you, but is trying very hard not to fall too fast, and understanding this changes everything about how you respond. The questions sound ordinary on the surface, but the energy feels structured, deliberate, almost formal, like you're having coffee and she asks, out of nowhere, what you're really looking for right now, how you handle conflict, what your friendships are like. You feel that internal shift where your mind says, "Why do I feel evaluated all of a sudden?" This is where most men lose ground by either turning themselves into a sales pitch or becoming tense and defensive, trying to prove worth instead of simply being present. Old Stoic wisdom teaches something very different, because as Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one," and that principle applies directly here. When she acts fair on purpose, she's using rules as emotional guardrails, not to reject you, but to protect herself from being swept away, to slow things down, to gather data. The crucial insight is this: she only runs this internal evaluation on men who matter enough to evaluate. If she didn't care, you'd get shallow conversation, polite laughter, and an easy exit, nothing more. Modern life has trained people to guard their emotions carefully, especially when attraction feels real. This moment is not about impressing her. It's about showing steadiness, because Stoicism win is never about forcing outcomes. It's about mastering your inner state. Epictetus made it clear when he said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, meaning you don't need to perform, you don't need to win the interview, you need to answer like a grounded human being, not a candidate seeking approval. When she watches how you respond, she's listening for emotional stability, for calm honesty, for an iron mind that doesn't wobble under pressure. You answer simply, clearly, without hiding, and without oversharing. You say what you're looking for in a calm way, not chaotic. Then you hand the question back to her because connection is mutual, not a test you pass alone. You keep your tone relaxed because tension signals insecurity, while ease signals self-command. If you try to win, the energy gets heavy and she closes off. But if you treat it like two adults learning about each other, she softens without ever admitting she softened. That's the quiet victory. This is where old Stoic wisdom meets modern dating because the goal is not to chase interest. It's to embody stability. Repeat it, live it, let others feel it. When you do this consistently, Stoicism win becomes a lived experience, not a concept. Your iron mind shows up in your voice, your pace, your presence. Over time, women don't feel pressured around you. They feel safe, curious, and drawn in because, as Marcus Aurelius also reminded us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And in this context, the best response to silent evaluation is calm authenticity, repeated again and again until attraction unfolds naturally, and you master not just the moment, but yourself. If this hit home, act on it right now. Don't perform. Don't audition. Stay grounded. Stay calm. That's where real attraction lives. Drop a comment below and lock it in. I don't prove myself. I stay centered. Like the video, subscribe for more sharp psychological insight, and remember this: when she asks real questions, it's not rejection. It's interest testing your strength. 4. She replies late but remembers a tiny detail you forgot you said. When a woman replies late but remembers a tiny detail you forgot you even shared, pay attention, because this is one of the most misunderstood signals in female psychology and one of the quiet psychology tricks that separates men who guess from men who understand. You send a simple message and the reply doesn't come fast, not because she's overwhelmed or distracted, but because she's deliberately spacing it out, managing her timing, performing calm, signaling independence, signaling that she isn't chasing. Yet when she finally responds, she casually drops a detail you barely remember saying, something small, something insignificant to you, but clearly stored in her mind, like mentioning you dislike coriander days ago and then remembering it precisely when ordering food, and that contradiction is the clue. Most men measure interest by speed alone, and that's where they fail, because speed is surface level while memory is emotional investment, and memory requires attention, curiosity, and care. Don't react to the delay. Be smarter than that. That is the trap. You must reward the memory, not the timing, because when you acknowledge her remembering something personal, you validate the part of her that's leaning in without calling her out for protecting herself. Say it clearly. Say it calmly. You remembered that? That's impressive. This works because it reinforces attraction without pressure, and pressure is what makes her pull back. If you respond like a disappointed teacher, pointing out how long she took or subtly expressing frustration, she tightens up, not because she isn't interested, but because she senses emotional weight being placed too early, and emotional weight collapses tension instead of building it. This is how to fall in love slowly, safely, and naturally, by allowing space while rewarding connection, a core principle in female psychology that most men never learn. Don't chase reassurance. Be present. That is confidence. You must understand that selective delay paired with precise memory is often her way of staying in control of her emotions while still staying connected to yours, and that balance is exactly what attraction feeds on. This is why psychology tricks aren't about manipulation, but about awareness. Because once you see the pattern, you stop mislabeling interest as indifference and stop sabotaging moments that could grow into something meaningful. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because when she feels safe expressing interest quietly, the next thing she'll do is test you in public without admitting she's testing you, watching how you react when attention is divided, when social pressure is present. when you're not alone together, and if you've already shown that you understand subtext instead of demanding clarity, she leans closer instead of stepping back. Don't rush her. Be steady. That is what separates men who understand female psychology from men who argue with it. If you're paying attention to the subtext and not just the words, you already see how to fall in love isn't about speed. It's about rhythm, awareness, and emotional intelligence. And if you're truly listening, comment, listen, because that mindset alone puts you ahead of the men who miss these signals every single time. 5. She accidentally leaves you out, then checks if you still showed up. Have you noticed how she sometimes forgets to invite you, yet later checks to see if you're still coming? That moment matters more than most men realize. The group is going out for drinks. Everyone hears about it. But you don't get the direct "you should come." No clear invite, no spotlight. Then later, almost casually, she texts, "Are you coming or not?" That is not indifference. Don't mislabel it. Be calm. That is her trying to manage her image while still keeping you in mind. She wants to attract women's attention without looking eager herself. In female psychology, this is a classic push-pull. She leaves you out just enough to protect herself, then checks to see if you still show up. That check is the signal. You must learn to read it. Most men panic at the wobble. They read it as disrespect or uncertainty and react emotionally. Don't do that. Be steady. You don't need flawless signals to move forward. That is the trap inexperienced men fall into. A high-value man doesn't demand perfection. He understands intent. Show up if you want to. Don't punish the hesitation. Don't interrogate her about why you weren't invited directly. That pressure kills attraction fast. Masculine energy is calm, grounded, and responsive, not reactive. This is one of those psychology tricks where your reaction matters more than her behavior. Try this instead. Keep it light. Keep it clean. "Yeah, I'm coming. Next time, just say you want me there." Say it without tension. Say it without edge. That line works because it communicates confidence and clarity at the same time. You're not chasing. You're not sulking. You're setting a tone. If you sulk, she pulls back. If you stay steady, she relaxes. That is how you attract women without force. That is how a high-value man handles uncertainty. He doesn't withdraw. He doesn't overinvest. He stays present. And here's the deeper layer. When she sees that you don't collapse emotionally over a small wobble, something shifts. She feels safer. She feels less pressure. Female psychology responds to emotional stability more than words. Masculine energy shows up in moments like this, not in speeches, not in tactics, but in how you carry yourself when signals aren't perfect. You must understand this if you want to attract women consistently. Watch closely, because once she sees you handle this well, the next thing she'll do is test you by disagreeing with you just to see if that same steadiness stays. That's where everything changes. 6. She disagrees with you while copying your exact words. When a woman disagrees with you but deliberately mirrors your exact words, pay attention because this is not random and it is not about winning an argument. It is a subtle psychological signal that she is mentally engaged with you far more than she wants to admit. You tell a story and casually say, "I'm not big on drama," and later she challenges you by repeating it back. "All right, mister, not big on drama. Explain why you did that." This is not confrontation for the sake of conflict. This is recall. This is attention. This is her replaying your language because it stayed with her. As old Stoic wisdom teaches us, what is repeated in the mind is what holds value. And when she repeats your words, she is revealing that you have already entered her internal world. Most men misread this moment. They hear disagreement and immediately feel tested, so they either push harder to prove a point or soften themselves to keep harmony. Both reactions fail. You are not there to win, and you are not there to retreat. You are there to observe and respond with clarity. Copying your words is a quiet form of connection, a way of holding on to you while pretending it is only logic. In modern life, where attention is fractured and emotional walls are high, people only echo what matters to them. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, meaning you do not mirror tension with tension. You meet it with composure. Do not turn her challenge into a debate. Do not sharpen your tone. Do not defend your identity. Simply smile, stay grounded, and respond with calm precision. Fair question. I wasn't avoiding drama. I was avoiding a pointless scene. Then pause, hand the energy back, ask, what would you have done? This does two things at once. It shows confidence without pressure, and it invites her deeper without chasing. This is Stoicism win in real time. This is iron mind behavior. When you answer with calm clarity, the dynamic shifts. The interaction deepens. She feels heard without feeling resisted, but if you snap, rush, or get sarcastic, she quietly withdraws and tells herself she was right to stay guarded. Remember, attraction often hides behind resistance, and interest often wears the mask of challenge. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This moment is not about her words, it is about your response. Old Stoic wisdom teaches mastery of reaction, not suppression of emotion. Stoicism win is about knowing when to speak and when to stay still. An iron mind does not rush to correct, it invites reflection. In today's world, where emotional reactivity is common and calm presence is rare, your ability to remain centered becomes magnetic. So the instruction is simple and precise. Read the signal, keep your frame, respond with ease, and let her curiosity do the work. You are not proving anything. You are revealing who you already are. If this hit home, don't just watch and move on. Like the video, subscribe for more sharp psychology, and share it with a man who keeps misreading signals. Now lock this lesson in by commenting the line below. Comment to remember. When she challenges me using my own words, I stay calm, clear, and grounded. That's how attraction deepens. Say it. Own it. That calm clarity is the edge most men never develop. 7. She complains about you in a way that sounds like praise. When a woman complains about you in a way that secretly sounds like praise, that is one of the clearest signs she's pretending not to like you while actually feeling drawn in. And this is where most men misread female psychology completely. She'll say something like, "You're so annoying, you always notice everything," or, "Ugh, you're the worst. You make me laugh when I'm trying to stay mad." And on the surface, it sounds like criticism, but underneath, it's admiration slipping out sideways. Don't get stuck on the first half of the sentence. Be sharp enough to hear the second half. That is where the truth lives. She's telling you that you're perceptive, emotionally present, and able to shift her mood without trying. That matters. That is attraction. Many men panic here. They either apologize too much or puff their chest like they just won a prize. Don't do either. Don't reject it. Don't over-celebrate it. Be calm. Be grounded. A simple response like, "Yeah, it's a gift and a curse, I'll try to use it responsibly," does something powerful. It accepts the praise without chasing validation. That balance is rare, and rare things pull attention. This is one of those subtle psychology tricks that works because it aligns with female psychology, not against it. She's testing how you handle attention without asking directly. She's watching whether you crumble, perform, or stay centered. That is the real question behind the words. You must understand this. When she frames praise as a complaint, she's protecting herself emotionally. She's allowing closeness while keeping plausible distance. That's how attraction often begins when feelings feel risky. Don't rush to label it. Don't try to lock it down. Just stay present. Stay steady. Watch her eyes, her tone, her timing, because the next thing she asks you won't really be a question at all. It will be an invitation disguised as curiosity, a probe to see how safe it feels to step closer. This is where men who understand how to fall in love don't force moments. They allow them. They listen more than they speak. They respond instead of react. That is how you let interest grow without pressure. These psychology tricks are not about manipulation. They're about awareness. When you understand female psychology at this level, you stop guessing and start seeing patterns clearly. Be the man who hears what's said and what's meant. Be the man who doesn't flinch when admiration shows up wearing a mask. That calm confidence is what quietly turns playful complaints into real connection. And that is how attraction moves forward without you ever needing to push it. 8. She asks your opinion on something she's already decided. 8. She asks your opinion on something she has already decided, and this moment is far more important than it looks on the surface. She may say it casually, maybe even with a smile. Do you think I should take that job? While you're standing outside a restaurant, but inside, she's watching your face like it's a verdict. She already knows what she wants. That's the part most men miss. They hear a question and rush to solve it. Don't. This is not a problem-solving moment. Be clear about that. This is a connection moment. This is one of those psychology tricks hidden inside everyday conversation. And if you understand it, you begin to attract women without trying to impress them. She isn't asking for instructions. She's asking how safe it feels to let you into her inner world. That is the test. Most men either overperform or check out. Both fail. If you launch into a lecture, listing pros and cons like a career coach, she feels managed. If you shrug and say, do whatever you want, the connection retreats and her walls quietly stay up. Don't do either. Be steady. That is the sweet spot. You must first reflect what you hear. Say something like, you sound excited, but you're trying not to admit it. That single sentence shows awareness. Awareness is attractive. Then go one layer deeper. Ask, what's the part that scares you? Now she feels seen, not judged. That is masculine energy used correctly. Calm, present, grounded. After that, add one clear vote. Not pressure, not approval seeking, just clarity. If this is what you want, I'm in your corner. That combination is powerful. It feels like partnership without control. It feels like support without ownership. This is how a high-value man shows strength. He doesn't steer her life. He stands beside it. When you do this well, you don't need to convince her of anything. Female psychology responds naturally to emotional steadiness. That is how you attract women who are emotionally aware, not reactive. Understand this clearly. When she asks your opinion on something she's already decided, she's not testing your intelligence. She's testing your emotional posture. She wants to see if you can handle closeness without tightening your grip. You must stay centered. You must stay calm. That is how masculine energy creates safety. And safety is what allows attraction to grow quietly. If you respond too intense, she feels watched. If you respond too casual, she feels alone. Steady is the middle path. That balance is rare. That rarity is why it works. Handle this moment correctly, and you'll notice something subtle but telling. She will begin to position herself closer to you in public. She'll stand nearer. Walk in sync. Angle her body toward you. And the interesting part is this: she can deny it out loud, but her body won't. That's female psychology in action. These psychology tricks aren't about manipulation. They're about understanding how to fall in love without forcing it. Be the man who listens first. Be the man who reflects instead of reacts. Be the high-value man who stays grounded when direction is being chosen. That calm presence is what truly attracts women, and it's what keeps them feeling safe enough to stay close. 9. She picks the seat that keeps you close but not too close. When a woman pretends not to like you, one of the clearest signs appears in something most men overlook, where she chooses to sit. Placement is never random when emotions are involved. As old Stoic wisdom teaches us, what we do not control often reveals more than what we say, a truth echoed by Marcus Aurelius, who reminded us that behavior is the mirror of the mind. You may be at a dinner with friends, with plenty of open seats around the table, yet you notice her scanning the room not casually but deliberately, weighing distance like a chess move. Sitting directly beside you would expose her interest. Sitting across from you would feel too safe. So she chooses the middle ground, one chair away, same side of the booth, close enough that a knee might brush yours, far enough that she can blame the table, the crowd, or coincidence. This is not confusion. It is control, a quiet test. Because in modern life, attraction often hides behind plausible deniability, especially for women who value emotional safety. Most men misunderstand proximity as either a clear signal or nothing at all. But when she is hiding her feelings, closeness becomes a controlled experiment, a way to feel you without being seen wanting you. This is where Iron Mind discipline separates the reactive man from the grounded one. She watches carefully how you respond to the small moments, the knee bump, the shared menu, the shoulder touch, not to trap you, but to observe you, to see whether you freeze, overreact, or retreat into fear. Because confidence today is not loud, it is regulated. And as Seneca said, he who is brave is free, meaning free from panic, free from ego, free from the need to perform. So the instruction here is simple but powerful. Match her pace, not her tension. If her knee brushes yours, do not turn it into a performance. Do not make a joke to cover nerves. Do not pull away like you've done something wrong. Instead, acknowledge lightly and calmly, maybe with a soft, "You okay?" and then return to the conversation. That response does two things at once. It gives her an exit without embarrassment and permission to stay without pressure. This balance is what Stoicism win principles are built on: emotional steadiness over emotional hunger, presence over pursuit, strength without force. Remember, earlier she may have ended moments when things felt good, pulled back when warmth appeared. But this move is different. This is her trying to keep the moment alive without admitting she started it. If you stay composed, grounded in old Stoic wisdom, repeating calm responses instead of anxious guesses, you show her something rare in modern dating: a man with an iron mind who does not chase signals, does not fear missteps, and does not need certainty to remain steady. And that steadiness is what quietly wins. Because attraction grows where safety meets confidence. Mastery here is not about decoding tricks. It is about mastering yourself again and again until your presence alone becomes the answer. If you made it this far, you're starting to see what most men completely miss. Attraction isn't loud, it's subtle, it's controlled, and it rewards the man who stays calm, present, and emotionally grounded instead of rushing the moment. If you're ready to stop misreading the signs and start responding with confidence and restraint, comment this below to lock it in. I stay calm, read the moment, and let attraction grow naturally. Comment it now. The men who understand this don't chase signals. They let signals come to them. 10. She finds a practical excuse to message you after acting cold. When a woman acts distant and then suddenly finds a practical reason to message you, that moment matters far more than most men realize, because this is one of the clearest signals in female psychology that she's interested but protecting herself. She goes quiet for a day or two, and you feel that subtle letdown, that inner voice saying, "All right, guess that didn't mean anything." So you start emotionally stepping back. Then, out of nowhere, she sends a harmless question: the name of a show you mentioned, a repair shop recommendation, something that looks random and practical on the surface. Don't dismiss this. That message is not about the laptop or the TV show. That is a low-risk doorway. It allows her to reconnect without exposing her feelings, without risking embarrassment, without openly saying she missed you. These psychology tricks aren't manipulative games, they're safety mechanisms. If you shut her down, she can tell herself it was never emotional. If you respond well, she learns something important about you. Most men miss this because they answer like a help desk, polite, dry, efficient, and in doing so, they quietly close the door she just opened. Don't do that, but also don't swing to the other extreme. Don't punish her with silence. Don't overwhelm her with long explanations. Be calm, be warm, be specific. Add a touch of personality. Use her name once, naturally, because that creates connection without pressure. Before you hit send, pause for 10 minutes and remove any trace of frustration from your tone. You must understand this. Resentment leaks through text faster than confidence ever does, and she will feel it immediately. If you answer too cold, she concludes that returning to you isn't emotionally safe. If you answer too eager, she feels the balance shift and instinctively pulls back again to regain control, disappearing even longer next time. But if you answer steady and lightly playful, you set a tone she can trust. That tone says, "I'm here, I'm grounded, and I'm not chasing." This is where female psychology becomes very clear. Once that tone is established, she starts observing something deeper than your words. She watches how you treat people who can't offer you anything, how you respond when there's no reward. This is how attraction quietly grows. This is how to fall in love without forcing it. So don't rush, don't overthink. Respond like a man who values connection but doesn't need validation. That balance is rare and it's powerful. When you understand these psychology tricks, when you respect how female psychology actually works, you stop reacting emotionally and start leading the interaction calmly. And that's when her practical messages slowly turn into something much more personal, because now she feels safe enough to let them. 11. She watches how you treat people who can't impress you. You'll spot it when you're out with her and someone unimportant enters the frame. A waiter, a barista, the awkward friend who talks too much and laughs a beat too late. She gets a little quieter. Her eyes flick from you to them and back again, like she's taking notes while pretending she's just listening. Most men assume she's judging their charm. No, she's judging their default setting, and that is a huge difference. When a woman is pretending not to like you, she can't afford to fall for a performance. She doesn't want the date version of you. She wants the unfiltered version, the one that shows up when there's nothing to gain, nothing to win, nothing to prove. That's why this moment matters more than any compliment you could give her. She's asking a silent question. Is he kind when it doesn't benefit him? That's where a high-value man separates himself without even trying. Not by being flashy, not by being loud, by being steady. Don't treat kindness like a tactic. Be respectful like it's normal. That is the point. Say thank you like you mean it, not like you're dropping a coin into a machine and expecting attraction to pop out. Make jokes that include people, not jokes that step on someone's dignity just to get a laugh. You must understand this. Women don't only listen to what you say to them, they listen to what you say to the world. And in that quiet little moment, when the barista hands you the cup, when the waiter is busy, when the awkward friend is talking, she's reading your masculine energy more clearly than she ever could in a romantic conversation, because it's raw, it's automatic, it's real. So here's your move, and it's simple. Slow down. Be decent on purpose, not theatrical, not performative, specific. Hey, no rush. Take your time. Then you look back at her like you didn't just do a magic trick, because you didn't. You just showed her who you are, and that is exactly how you attract women without chasing them. That is exactly how a high-value man operates. Calm, grounded, respectful, because his masculine energy isn't something he turns on. It's something he lives in. If you're only warm when she's watching, the connection stays shallow. If you're steady with everyone, she stops pretending she doesn't care. And then she starts testing something even more personal next. How you handle goodbyes, how you handle space, how you handle the moments when attention isn't guaranteed. Stay steady. That is how you attract women. That is masculine energy. That is high-value man behavior without the need for a speech. 12, she says she's busy, then lingers at the exit like she's waiting. When a woman says she's busy but then lingers at the exit, pay attention, because behavior always speaks louder than words, and this is one of the clearest signals most men completely miss. She says, "I've got to run," yet her body doesn't move. Her hand rests on her bag strap. She stays planted by the door. She keeps talking as if time suddenly slowed down. This is not confusion. This is hesitation mixed with desire. Most men take her words literally and disengage too fast, but you don't. You notice the pause. You notice the space between what she says and what she does. As Old Stoic wisdom teaches, clarity comes from observing reality, not clinging to surface impressions. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." What's true here is simple. If she truly wanted to leave, she would already be gone. Do not call it out. Do not trap her with pressure or questions like, "So are you leaving or not?" That breaks the moment and forces her into defense. Instead, you provide a bridge, calm, casual, certain. Walk with me for 30 seconds. That's it. No neediness, no explanation. If she follows, you have your answer. She wanted the moment but didn't want to ask for it. This is where Stoicism wins separates the emotionally centered man from the reactive one. You stay grounded, you stay relaxed, you lead without forcing. In modern life, where everyone is overstimulated and guarded, emotional safety is rare, and women test for it constantly. Lingering is one of those tests. She wants to see if you can read the room without demanding clarity she isn't ready to give. This is iron mind thinking. You do not chase words. You respond to energy. You understand that attraction often hides behind caution, especially in public or transitional moments. And this pattern becomes even clearer in group settings, where she may say she's done for the night but remains nearby, laughs a little longer, or delays that final goodbye. These are not accidents. These are invitations wrapped in uncertainty. As Epictetus taught, we suffer not from events but from our judgments about them. Do not judge her hesitation as rejection. Judge it as restraint mixed with interest. Stay composed, stay observant. Repeat this principle until it becomes instinct. Watch what she does, not what she says. Watch her feet, not her excuses. Watch the pause. This is old Stoic wisdom applied to modern dating. This is Stoicism win in action. This is how an iron mind reads signals without anxiety, moves forward without pressure, and wins by staying calm, present, and unmistakably centered. If this moment sounded familiar, you're already paying attention in ways most men don't. Like the video if it helped you see attraction more clearly. Share it with a friend who always takes words too literally. And don't forget to subscribe for more psychology-backed wisdom on attraction and confidence. Comment this affirmation to lock it in. I notice the pause. I create space, not pressure. Because the man who stays calm, observant, and grounded doesn't need to chase. He recognizes the moment and invites it forward. 13. He acts unimpressed in the group, but softer when it's just you. She acts unimpressed in the group, but softer when it's just you, and this detail matters more than most men realize, because in public she keeps a cool, controlled presence while everyone else is reacting openly. You're making people laugh, the energy is high, and she's the one offering a small smirk that quietly says, "All right, don't get carried away." Not because she isn't entertained, but because group settings trigger self-protection and image awareness in female psychology, especially when attraction is involved. So don't misread that surface calm as disinterest. That is the first mistake men make when they don't understand psychology tricks at play in social dynamics. Because later, when the noise fades, when you're standing by the kitchen counter or stepping aside where the music is muted and the moment feels more personal, her tone shifts. Her body angle changes. She leans in. Her voice drops. And suddenly she admits almost reluctantly that what you said was actually funny. And that contrast is everything. Because most people only react to the public version of her, but you learn to respect the private one. And that awareness alone separates you from the crowd. So don't expose her softness in front of others. Don't tease her about pretending not to care. Don't point out the difference out loud in the group, because that forces her back into the mask she's wearing to feel comfortable. And when you do that, you undo the quiet trust you were building. Instead, be calm, be observant, be grounded. Understand that attraction often grows in subtlety, not performance. And in that quieter moment, you can acknowledge it lightly, without pressure, without trying to win anything, simply saying something like, "I notice you save the real reaction for later," then smile and move on. No pause, no expectation, because that shows emotional intelligence, restraint, and an understanding of how to fall in love without forcing it. And that restraint feels safe, it feels respectful, it feels rare, and that's why it works, because women often test emotional steadiness before emotional openness. And when she feels she doesn't have to perform or defend herself around you, she relaxes, she stays. She may even act slightly annoyed while still remaining close, and that combination is not rejection, it's engagement. So don't chase approval, don't demand validation, don't escalate too fast. Understand the rhythm of female psychology. Recognize these psychology tricks for what they are, signals of comfort mixed with curiosity. And remember The man who understands the difference between public composure and private softness is the man who naturally becomes memorable because he doesn't need to push. He allows connection to unfold. And that is often how real attraction quietly begins, and how people slowly learn how to fall in love without even realizing it's happening. All right, that's it for today, my friend. If you found this video helpful, or it made you see women's behavior a little more clearly, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Those small actions really help the channel grow and reach the right people. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced these signs before? Or do you see things differently? If you have feedback, questions, or even a different point of view, drop it in the comments. This is a space for real discussion, not judgment. Remember, understanding psychology isn't about tricks. It's about awareness, calm confidence, and knowing how to read situations without overreacting. Stay grounded, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video. The manly gesture that melts any woman and almost nobody uses. Psychology tricks. Have you ever noticed how some men don't say much, don't show off, yet women feel drawn to them almost instantly? There is a single gesture, quiet, grounded, and deeply masculine, that can make a woman feel seen and safe within seconds. And here's the truth most men miss. It has nothing to do with looks, money, or clever lines. As Leo Tolstoy once said, love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. This gesture comes from appreciation, presence, and inner steadiness, qualities that can't be faked and are rarely practiced today. In this video, we'll break down what this gesture really is, why it works on both an emotional and psychological level, how to tell when she's responding to it, and how to express it naturally without trying to impress or perform. But before we go deeper, if this message already resonates, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and city in the comments. And tell me honestly, do you believe one simple, genuine gesture can create real attraction? Share your thoughts. Your voice is what builds this community. Now let's begin. 1. The most common mistake men make. Most men keep repeating the same mistake when they want to connect with a woman, and it feels reasonable to them, almost logical, because they believe attraction is something you build by impressing her, so they add more effort, more words, more explanations, more proof, more humor, more stories, more demonstrations of value, and they think if they just do enough, something will click. But that belief is exactly why most men get connection completely wrong, because attraction does not begin in a woman's logical mind. It begins in her body, and it happens far faster than most men are willing to accept. We're talking milliseconds. Before a sentence is finished, before a joke lands, before an achievement is mentioned, her nervous system is already responding. Through thousands of years of evolution, female psychology has been shaped to detect intention, emotional stability, and safety instantly, not through analysis, but through sensation. And that is why a woman can meet a man and almost immediately feel something clear and strong without being able to logically explain it. I feel calm here, I feel safe, I feel drawn in, or the opposite. Something feels tense, something feels rushed, something feels off. That sensitivity is not intuition in a mystical sense. It is biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. And this is where the manly gesture almost nobody uses becomes so powerful, because it bypasses the need to convince and speaks directly to her nervous system. Don't rush to fill silence. Don't perform. Don't try to steer the moment. Be present. Be still. Be grounded in your body and your pace. That pause before you speak, that relaxed breath, that unhurried movement, that ability to listen without interrupting, that calm eye contact without forcing intensity, that is the gesture. It signals emotional self-control. It signals confidence without aggression. It signals safety without weakness. And safety is where attraction quietly grows. This is why so many psychology tricks fail when men use them mechanically, because psychology tricks aimed at the mind miss the fact that female psychology has already decided how it feels long before logic shows up. A woman's body responds to regulation, not stimulation. When you are calm, she feels calmer. When you are centered, she feels steadier. When you are not trying to impress, she feels no pressure to perform either. That is how to fall in love begins in the real world, not with excitement first, but with ease. You must understand this deeply. Attraction is not created by chasing attention. It is created by creating emotional space. Be slower than the moment demands. Be quieter than your impulse wants. Let silence work for you instead of fighting it. That calm presence is rare, and rarity is attractive. When you master this, you stop needing constant psychology tricks because your behavior itself aligns with female psychology at the deepest level. This is how to fall in love unfolds naturally when a woman feels safe enough to open, curious enough to stay, and relaxed enough to let attraction grow without force. 2. What happens biologically and emotionally? What happens biologically and emotionally when a woman perceives authenticity plus security plus genuine intention is not a mystery, even though it often feels like one to men, because the process happens below language, below logic, and below conscious choice, and that is exactly why it is so powerful. When those three signals align, something ancient wakes up inside her nervous system, an evolutionary truth that has been refined over thousands of years. And in that moment, an emotional switch flips that she cannot consciously control, no matter how intelligent, guarded, or experienced she is. Don't argue with this. Don't try to outthink it. This is biology meeting emotion in real time. Her system is designed to scan for safety first, then intention, then consistency, and when those signals feel real, not forced, not rushed, not performative, her natural defenses drop without her deciding to lower them. That is what most men never understand. She is not choosing to open. The opening happens. What I call an emotional opening is created, not through persuasion, but through presence. Be clear on this. Be steady. Be real. That is what signals a high-value man long before titles or accomplishments ever enter the room. When authenticity is felt, her body relaxes. When security is sensed, her breath deepens. When genuine intention is perceived, her attention stays. This is not romance novel fantasy. This is female psychology responding to masculine energy that is calm, grounded, and unthreatening. And here is the part that makes many men uncomfortable, but also explains everything. The most powerful moment is when her body will betray her. She can't hide it. Her posture softens. Her voice changes slightly. Her eyes linger a fraction longer. Her movements become slower, more fluid. These are not conscious signals. They are involuntary responses. That is why no surface-level advice can compete with real presence. Don't perform confidence. Be confident. Don't chase reactions. Create safety. You must understand that to attract women at a deep level, you are not triggering desire through words. You are allowing her nervous system to feel regulated in your presence. That regulation is the foundation of attraction. This is why men who talk less but feel solid are often perceived as more attractive than men who say all the right things but feel restless. Masculine energy, when it is healthy, does not push. It holds. It does not impress. It reassures. It does not demand. It invites. And when a woman feels that, her defenses no longer need to stay alert. The emotional switch flips. The emotional opening forms. Her body responds before her mind can object. That is not manipulation. That is alignment. Be careful here. This is not about tricks. This is about becoming the kind of man whose internal state communicates safety and direction at the same time. That is the signature of a high-value man, and it is why he can attract women without chasing or proving. When your presence is congruent, when your actions match your energy, when your intention feels clean, female psychology responds automatically. You must stop trying to convince her that you are trustworthy and start being someone whose energy feels trustworthy. Don't rush intimacy. Don't force momentum. Let the emotional opening expand naturally. That patience is masculine energy at its most powerful. It signals strength without pressure. It signals interest without urgency. It signals desire without neediness. And this is why her body will betray her in the best possible way, because the nervous system cannot lie even when the mind wants to stay cautious. This is how men who truly attract women operate differently. They understand that attraction is not built by stacking techniques, but by embodying consistency. Be calm, be intentional, be present. That is how the emotional switch flips. That is how defenses lower. That is how attraction moves from resistance to receptivity without a single word needing to explain it. If this hit home, take action right now. Drop this in the comments and lock it in. I move with calm intention, and my presence speaks before my words. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us. Because a man who doesn't rush is a man who commands respect. 3. The melting gesture, the 3 key elements. What almost nobody teaches men anymore, but what women still feel instantly and deeply, is not a line, not a trick, not a performance, but a gesture rooted in Old Stoic wisdom, the slow approach, the firm yet soft gaze, and the courage to leave silent space untouched, because this combination communicates something rarer than confidence. It communicates inner completeness, and that is why it melts a woman without effort. The slow approach matters because speed signals need, urgency signals hunger, and hunger, no matter how well dressed, creates pressure, while calm movement signals control, intention, and self-respect. The kind of control that comes from an iron mind that does not rush toward outcomes, but allows moments to unfold. When you move slowly, you are telling her without words that you are not chasing validation, not performing for approval, not trying to win anything. You are simply arriving, and arrival without urgency is power. Then comes the gaze, the most misunderstood and most powerful element, because this is not a predator stare that invades her space, and it is not a timid glance that escapes too quickly, but a grounded, relaxed, steady look that says, "I see you, and I am comfortable here." A gaze that holds for a breath longer than average, then softens, then returns, never demanding, never withdrawing, never apologizing for its presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be satisfied with even the smallest progress," and treat the result of it as no small matter. And this gaze is exactly that: small, controlled, intentional, yet profoundly felt. The reason most men fail here is intention. When your eyes are secretly asking for something, approval, attraction, reassurance, women sense the imbalance immediately, because need leaks through micro-expressions faster than words ever could. But when your intention is simply to share the moment, to stand calmly in it, to allow silence to exist without filling it, her nervous system relaxes, and relaxation is where attraction begins. Silence, in modern life, has become terrifying for many men because they confuse constant talking with value. But silence is not emptiness, it is space, and space allows emotions to breathe. When you can stand in silence without fidgeting, without explaining yourself, without reaching for your phone or your ego, you demonstrate self-trust, and self-trust is magnetic. Epictetus taught that freedom is found in wanting nothing outside yourself, and when a woman feels that you want nothing from her, no reaction, no confirmation, no outcome, she feels safe to move toward you, because safety is the soil in which desire grows. In today's world of endless notifications, rushed conversations, and performative confidence, this gesture stands out because it feels ancient, grounded, almost forgotten, yet deeply familiar. Like something her body recognizes before her mind explains it. This is why Stoicism win is not about tricks, but about mastery, because mastery removes need, and needlessness creates gravity. You must practice this deliberately. Slow your walk as you approach. Feel your feet on the ground. Lift your eyes calmly. Hold her gaze with warmth, not hunger. Allow a pause before speaking, and if silence appears, let it stay. Do not rush to rescue it. Because the man who can sit comfortably in silence is telling the world he trusts himself. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free, and bravery here is not loudness, it is restraint. It is choosing not to chase the moment, but to inhabit it fully, and when you inhabit the moment, others feel invited into it." Repeat this principle in business meetings, in conversations with friends, in everyday interactions. because consistency builds identity, and identity builds attraction without effort. This is Old Stoic wisdom applied to modern relationships, where the strongest signal you can send is calm presence. Do not stare. Do not avoid. Be there. Be steady. Be unhurried. Let your gaze say what words cannot. I am complete, and I choose to share this moment with you. This is not manipulation. It is alignment. This is not performance. It is posture of the soul. Train it daily. Walk slower. Breathe deeper. Speak less. Hold space longer. Let silence work for you. Let your eyes communicate certainty without demand. This is how you build an iron mind. This is how you win quietly. This is why Stoicism win is not about conquering others, but mastering yourself. Because when you master yourself, attraction follows naturally, effortlessly, and on your terms. 4. The three elements revealed. The secure silence is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful gestures a man can use, and almost nobody truly masters it, even though it sits at the very center of attraction and connection. This is the moment where most men quietly lose ground without realizing it. A pause appears. A few seconds of stillness settle into the air. And instead of standing calmly inside that moment, many men rush to escape it. They talk. They explain. They joke. They fill the space with noise, not because it adds value, but because silence makes them uneasy. Don't do that. Be aware of what's happening beneath the surface. That discomfort isn't coming from her. It's coming from a lack of inner stillness. And female psychology responds instantly to that. Well-handled silence is not awkward. It is not empty. It is full. It carries presence, certainty, and quiet confidence. It communicates something powerful without a single word. That is why it works so deeply in female psychology and why it plays such a central role in how to fall in love naturally, without effort or performance. When you remain calm in silence, you're not withdrawing. You're not disengaging. You are anchoring the moment. You are saying, without saying it, I am comfortable with myself and I am comfortable with you. That message lands far deeper than clever lines or constant conversation. Be still. Let the moment breathe. Silence, when grounded, creates emotional safety. It signals that you are not seeking approval. You are not chasing validation. You are simply present. And presence is rare. Presence is felt. Presence is magnetic. This is one of those psychology tricks that doesn't look like a trick at all because it's rooted in self-mastery, not manipulation. Women sense it immediately. They feel it in their nervous system before they can explain it in words. That's how female psychology works. It responds first to energy, then to logic. Most men think attraction is built by doing more, talking more, explaining more, impressing more. That belief quietly works against them. Attraction often grows in the spaces between words, in the moments where nothing is forced. Don't rush to fill silence just to prove something. Be steady. Be grounded. Let your calm speak. Silence handled well creates contrast. It slows the interaction down. It gives emotions room to surface. And emotions need space to grow if you want to understand how to fall in love in a way that lasts. Constant noise blocks that process. Stillness allows it. There is something deeply reassuring about a man who doesn't panic when the conversation pauses. It tells her that he trusts himself. It tells her he's not performing. It tells her he doesn't need constant stimulation to feel secure. That kind of emotional stability is incredibly attractive, especially as people grow older and value depth over excitement. This is why secure silence becomes more powerful with maturity. It reflects life experience. It reflects inner order. And in female psychology, inner order often translates into emotional reliability. Be clear about this. Silence does not mean being cold. It does not mean being distant. It means being present without pressure. You can maintain eye contact. You can relax your body. You can stay open. You simply don't rush to fill every gap. That is the difference. That is the gesture almost nobody uses correctly. When silence feels calm instead of tense, it becomes an invitation. It allows her to step forward emotionally. It allows curiosity to build. And curiosity is one of the strongest drivers in how to fall in love. People lean toward what feels grounded, not what feels frantic. Many men underestimate how much they reveal when they can't tolerate silence. Nervous talking often signals internal unrest. Over-explaining signals a need to be understood immediately. Filling every pause signals a fear of losing connection. Don't do that. Trust the moment. Trust yourself. When you're at ease, silence becomes a shared space rather than an empty one. That shared space is where connection deepens. That's where attraction matures. That's where psychology tricks stop being tricks and start becoming natural expressions of who you are. In female psychology, calm confidence is not loud. It is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush. It doesn't push. Secure silence embodies that perfectly. It shows that you don't need to control the interaction to feel okay inside. You are already okay. That inner state is what others respond to. This is why silence, when used with awareness, feels so different from withdrawal. Withdrawal feels closed. Secure silence feels open and steady. One repels. The other draws in. If you want to understand how to fall in love without games, without pressure, and without pretending to be someone you're not, start here. Learn to sit comfortably in silence. Learn to pause without anxiety. Learn to let moments unfold instead of forcing them forward. Be patient. Be centered. Be present. These are not flashy psychology tricks, but they work because they align with how female psychology actually functions. Attraction grows where safety and presence meet. The irony is simple. The less you try to impress in these moments, the more impact you have. Silence gives weight to your words when you do speak. It gives depth to your presence. It allows the interaction to feel real rather than rushed. And real connection is what most people are quietly searching for, even if they don't say it out loud. So don't fear the pause. Don't rush the moment. Don't fill the space out of habit. Be still. Be grounded. Let your calm do the work. Because when silence is secure, it doesn't push love away. It invites it in. If this insight hit home, don't just scroll past it. Pause. Let it sink in. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a man who needs to understand presence, not pressure. Now lock this lesson into your mind by commenting this below backhand index pointing down, I am present, grounded, and I don't seek validation. Say it once. Mean it. Because the strongest attraction is felt in silence, not chased with words. 5. The secure silence. Why this combination works is not mystery, magic, or manipulation. It is biology meeting emotional intelligence. When you combine these three elements, the slow approach, the soft present gaze, and secure silence, you activate something deep and ancient inside her nervous system. You are not pushing. You are not chasing. You are not trying to win. You are allowing. And that difference changes everything. The slow approach signals patience. It tells her body there is no rush and no pressure. In female psychology, speed often equals danger. Slowness equals safety. When you move slowly, you activate her parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for relaxation, connection, and trust. That is where attraction actually grows. Don't underestimate this. Be intentional. That is how a high-value man moves. Calm, measured, grounded. He does not hurry moments that are meant to unfold. Now contrast that with moving too fast. When you rush your words, your movements, or your intentions, you flip a different switch entirely. Her sympathetic nervous system turns on. Alert mode. Fight or flight. Even if she smiles. Even if she stays polite. Her body is no longer relaxed. And attraction cannot grow where tension lives. That is why so many men feel confused. They say the right things, but move with the wrong energy. Don't do that. Be aware of pace. Pace is not about strategy. It's about masculine energy that is controlled instead of scattered. A man who knows how to slow down instantly feels different. He feels grounded. He feels intentional. And yes, he naturally attracts women because his presence creates calm instead of pressure. Then comes the soft, present gaze. Not staring. Not intensity for the sake of intensity. Just relaxed eye contact that says, I'm here. That gaze does something powerful on a chemical level. It releases oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and trust. This is not a trick. This is how human connection works. Oxytocin tells her nervous system that closeness is safe, that emotional openness will not be punished, that she does not need to armor herself. Be present with your eyes. Don't scan the room. Don't fidget. Don't rush to look away out of discomfort. That calm gaze is a signature of a high-value man. It shows certainty without force. It shows confidence without performance. It is quiet masculine energy, and it is deeply felt. Now add secure silence, and everything deepens. Secure silence is not emptiness. It is space. It is the pause that allows emotions to surface. When you don't interrupt the moment with nervous talk, you give her room to feel what is happening. That is critical. Feelings need space to form. Silence handled well creates positive vulnerability. She is not being pushed to respond. She is not being led by your words. Her subconscious mind begins to process on its own. And this is where the real shift happens. Without you saying a word, her inner dialogue starts. This man is safe. This man is mature. He's not afraid of intimacy. I can let my guard down. You didn't convince her of this. You demonstrated it. That is the difference between trying to attract women and simply being the kind of man women feel drawn toward. Don't fear silence. Fear rushing what should be felt. Silence gives weight to the moment. It allows her nervous system to stay relaxed instead of alert. It allows oxytocin to do its work. It allows trust to grow quietly. This is why secure silence is so rare and so powerful. Most men panic when there are no words. They feel the urge to fill space. They think connection will disappear if they stop talking. Be different. Be steady. Be calm. That steadiness is masculine energy at its most authentic. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need approval. When these three elements come together, slow approach, soft gaze, secure silence, you create a full-body sense of safety and connection. Not logically, biologically, emotionally, subconsciously. This is why the combination works. It speaks directly to how attraction is wired, not how it is imagined. A high-value man understands this instinctively. He doesn't rush intimacy, and he doesn't avoid it either. He stays present. He stays grounded. He allows the moment to breathe. If you want to attract women without forcing outcomes, you must respect the nervous system, not fight it. You must lead with calm instead of urgency. You must allow space instead of filling it. That is not passive. That is mastery. That is controlled masculine energy. And it is far more persuasive than words ever will be. So don't move too fast. Be patient. Don't over-explain. Be present. Don't interrupt the moment. Let it unfold. When you do, attraction doesn't feel dramatic or chaotic. It feels natural, safe, real, and that is exactly why it lasts. 6. Why this combination works, the science. When you understand why this combination works, everything changes. Because this is not surface-level behavior. This is biology, psychology, and timeless human truth working together. Modern men miss it because they are rushed, distracted, and noisy, while attraction responds to something slower, calmer, and far more powerful. When you combine a slow approach, a grounded presence, and intentional restraint, you activate her parasympathetic nervous system, the part of her body that governs relaxation, connection, and safety. Not excitement alone, but trust. Not stimulation, but comfort. This is where real attraction begins. Because when a woman feels safe, she opens emotionally without being asked, without being pushed, without being persuaded. Science confirms this again and again. Move too fast, and you trigger the opposite system, the sympathetic nervous system, the one designed for alertness, tension, and self-protection. The system that asks, do I need to guard myself? Do I need to pull back? Do I need to stay in control? No amount of clever words can override that biological response. That is why the man who slows down instantly separates himself from the crowd. He is not trying to extract a reaction. He is allowing an experience. That is the difference between pressure and presence. When your gaze is soft but steady, unhurried and grounded, her brain releases oxytocin, the hormone associated with bonding, trust, and emotional closeness. The same hormone that deepens attachment and lowers defenses. This is not manipulation. This is alignment with human nature. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your inner state is calm, secure, and unthreatened, that calm colors the space around you. Silence plays a crucial role here. Secure silence is not emptiness. It is confidence without display, comfort without explanation. It tells her you are not afraid of pauses, not afraid of closeness, not afraid of intimacy. In that silence, she has room to feel, to notice, to process, to listen to her own emotional response. Most men interrupt that moment because they fear it. They fill it with jokes, explanations, reassurance, or noise. The man who holds silence with ease communicates maturity without saying a word. Her subconscious begins forming conclusions long before logic enters the room. This man is safe. This man is composed. This man is emotionally steady. I can lower my guard here. That conclusion opens the door to deeper connection. Not tactics, not lines, not tricks. This is where Old Stoic wisdom quietly outperforms modern performance culture. Stoicism teaches mastery of the self before influence over others. When you embody that, you don't chase validation. You don't rush outcomes. You don't force chemistry. You allow it to surface naturally. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This applies directly here. The man who is internally settled does not need to accelerate the moment. He trusts it. In modern life, fast, loud, overstimulated, this calm presence becomes rare. Rarity creates value. Value creates attraction. This is why men who cultivate an iron mind stand out without effort. Their nervous system is regulated. Their emotions are under command. Their actions are deliberate, not reactive. When you live this way, dating stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like an exchange. You are not seeking approval. You are offering a stable emotional environment. Women feel that instantly, even if they cannot explain it. This is the quiet power behind Stoicism win as a philosophy for modern men. It teaches you to slow your body, settle your mind, and let presence do the work that words cannot. The advice is simple but demanding. Stop rushing moments. Stop performing interest. Stop trying to control outcomes. Enter interactions grounded. Breathe slower. Move slower. Speak less, but mean more. Allow silence to exist without apologizing for it. Hold eye contact without intensity. Trust that calm is felt before it is understood. Attraction built on safety lasts longer than attraction built on excitement. Connection formed through presence runs deeper than connection formed through persuasion. When you master this, you are no longer competing with other men. You are operating on a different level entirely, guided by Old Stoic wisdom, strengthened by an iron mind, aligned with the biological truth of human connection. This is not about learning something new. It is about remembering something ancient, something steady, something timeless, the quiet strength that has always drawn people closer. When you embody it fully, Stoicism win stops being a concept and becomes your natural way of moving through the world. If you understand this, you're no longer guessing, you're leading. Because most men rush. They pressure. They trigger resistance. But a man who moves slowly, holds a calm gaze, and allows silence creates safety, trust, and deep connection. So if this clicked for you, don't stay silent. Drop this in the comments right now to lock it in. I move with calm, presence, and self-control, and people feel safe with me. Like the video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, real attraction begins when you stop rushing and start being present. 7. Clear signs it's working. Clear signs it's working are never loud, never theatrical, and never something you can force, because when this manly gesture lands the way it's supposed to, her body responds before her mind has time to interfere. And that is why you must learn to recognize these signals with calm attention rather than excitement or ego, because you can't fake physiology and you shouldn't try to rush what is already unfolding. A slight smile appears on her face for no obvious reason. Not the polite social smile she gives strangers, not the defensive courtesy smile, but a quiet, internal smile that comes from pleasure rising beneath awareness. And that smile alone already tells you that female psychology is responding to safety, presence, and emotional grounding rather than performance. And when you notice that her eye contact lasts longer than usual, softer, slower, more receptive, you must not stare harder or lean forward aggressively. Don't chase the moment. Don't tighten up. Be still. Because this is where most men sabotage themselves by trying to do something instead of allowing the psychology tricks already in motion to continue doing their work. Her eyes don't dart away quickly anymore. They linger. They invite. And that invitation is subtle but unmistakable if you are paying attention. And soon after, unconscious touches begin to appear. She brushes her hair back, touches her lips briefly, grazes her neck. Not as a signal to you directly, but as a form of self-soothing created by attraction mixed with positive nervous energy. And this matters deeply because how to fall in love often begins not with words, but with the nervous system recognizing something familiar and calming. And when her body starts moving closer without her making a conscious decision, when she leans her torso toward you, takes a small step forward, or removes physical barriers like a purse, a crossed arm, or the angle of her body, that is not coincidence. That is alignment. And you must not rush to reward yourself for it. Don't celebrate internally. Don't smirk. Don't escalate prematurely. Because the power here comes from your restraint and your ability to stay grounded while female psychology opens layer by layer. Her voice begins to soften. It becomes more melodic, warmer, slower. And this shift in tone happens because her nervous system is transitioning from alert to receptive, from guarded to open. And that shift cannot be commanded or coaxed. It can only be invited through calm masculine presence. And you'll notice her body orientation aligning toward you, feet pointing in your direction, torso angled naturally without tension, shoulders relaxed, posture open. And these signals matter because they are involuntary. They come from oxytocin beginning to circulate, from comfort and trust forming beneath the surface. And even her breathing changes, becoming deeper, slower, more synchronized with yours if you are truly present. And these involuntary signs all point toward you not because you impressed her, not because you entertained her, but because you created a space where she feels safe enough to feel something. And this is where men who rely on surface-level psychology tricks get confused, because they look for reactions instead of responses. And reactions can be acted, but responses cannot. An open posture emerges, palms visible, shoulders relaxed, chin level. And these signals are almost impossible to fake because they are rooted in physiology, not intention. And that is why you must learn to read them without needing validation. Because the moment you look for confirmation, approval, or outcome, your energy shifts and female psychology senses the change immediately. Be calm. Be patient. Be observant. Because how to fall in love is not about pushing emotion forward, but allowing it to rise naturally. And the man who understands this doesn't interrupt the process with insecurity or urgency. He stays centered. He stays present. He lets silence work. And that silence is not emptiness. It is emotional gravity. And when you understand these signs deeply, you stop guessing. You stop forcing conversations. You stop chasing reassurance. And instead, you move with clarity and self-control, which is why these psychology tricks are not tricks at all, but reflections of emotional intelligence. And when used with respect, they align perfectly with female psychology, because they honor the body's natural responses rather than trying to override them. And that is the quiet difference between a man who creates attraction effortlessly and a man who spends his life wondering why things never quite move forward. 8. How to apply it naturally. The number one key is simple, but most men miss it. Don't turn this into a performance. The moment you think, now I'm going to apply the gesture so she falls for me, it loses all its power. Completely. Because attraction does not respond to technique when technique is driven by need. It responds to authenticity. And women can sense manipulation instantly, not because they are suspicious, but because female intuition is finely tuned to intention. You must understand this clearly. The body reads intention before words ever arrive. So if your intention is to get something, to force an outcome, or to prove your worth, the gesture collapses. Be honest with yourself. If you're doing this to extract a reaction, stop. That is not strength. That is tension disguised as confidence. So, how do you make it authentic? You start from a place of genuine presence, not strategy, not psychology tricks. Presence. That means you are actually there. Mentally, emotionally. You are not thinking 3 steps ahead. You are not measuring her response. You are not planning your next move. You are with her, fully. And that alone already separates you from most men. Because a high-value man does not enter moments with an agenda. He enters them grounded, calm, self-contained. That is masculine energy at its most natural state. Not loud, not rushed. Just steady. Don't do it to get something. Do it because you are genuinely enjoying the moment with her. This matters more than anything else, because enjoyment cannot be faked. You either feel it or you don't. And when you do, your body relaxes. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows. Your movements soften. And suddenly, the gesture is no longer something you do. It becomes something that simply happens. That is when it works. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped trying at all. Move calmly. Move the way you would at home when you are completely relaxed. Think about that version of yourself. The one who isn't performing. The one who isn't trying to impress anyone. The one who moves slowly because there is no pressure. That is the pace you want. Not exaggerated. Not theatrical. Just unhurried. A man who moves calmly sends a powerful signal. He communicates that he is not chasing time, approval, or validation. And that calm movement alone helps attract women far more effectively than clever words ever could. Look without seeking approval. This is crucial. Most men look at a woman while secretly asking a question. Is this working? Does she like me? Am I doing this right? And the moment you ask those questions internally, your gaze changes. It becomes tight, searching, needy. Don't do that. Don't scan her face to see if it's working. That breaks the energy instantly. Because instead of presence, you project insecurity. Instead of calm, you project hunger. Be clear on this. Eye contact is not about checking for results. It is about sharing a moment. Period. That is why silence matters so much here. Embrace it. Don't rush to fill the pause. Don't reach for words out of discomfort. Learn to be comfortable in the quiet space between sentences. Silence is not empty. Silence is where connection deepens. And the more comfortable you are with silence, the more powerful the moment becomes. This is not theory. This is lived experience. A man who can sit in silence without fidgeting, without explaining himself, without entertaining, signals deep self-trust. And that self-trust is magnetic. Most men are afraid of silence because silence exposes them. It removes distraction. It removes performance. But that is exactly why it works. Because in silence, your masculine energy becomes visible. Not through action, but through stillness. Be the man who does not panic when nothing is happening. Be the man who allows the moment to breathe. That patience alone helps attract women more effectively than any scripted line. You must also understand that applying this naturally means letting go of control. Control over outcome. Control over timing. Control over how she responds. A high-value man does not manage attraction like a checklist. He creates conditions. He shows up grounded. He stays present. He allows. And paradoxically, that surrender to the moment is what creates the strongest pull. Because female psychology responds to emotional safety first. And safety comes from consistency, calmness, and presence. Don't confuse this with passivity. This is not about doing nothing. It's about doing less, but with more intention. Less force. Less urgency. Less mental noise. And more awareness. More patience. More steadiness. That is masculine energy in its refined form. Not aggressive. Not performative. Simply anchored. As you practice this, you'll notice something interesting. The less you try to attract women, the more they lean in. The less you seek validation, the more curiosity you create. Because you are no longer asking for permission to exist in the moment. You are claiming it quietly, and that quiet confidence is rare, especially in a world where most men are over-explaining, over-texting, and over-performing. Remember this. Psychology tricks only work when they stop feeling like tricks, when they align with who you actually are, when your inner state matches your outward behavior. If there is a mismatch, it shows. Always. So your real work is internal. Slow down your nervous system. Ground yourself in the present. Enjoy the interaction for what it is, not for where you hope it will lead. Be patient with yourself as you learn this. This is not about perfection. It's about awareness. Each time you notice yourself rushing, pulling, or checking for results, pause. Breathe. Return to presence. That return is the practice. And over time, it becomes natural. That is how you apply it without forcing it. That is how you stop performing and start attracting. Not by adding something new, but by removing what was never needed in the first place. And when you do, you don't just attract women. You become a calmer, more centered man overall. A man who moves through life with quiet certainty. And that, more than anything else, is what truly lasts. Hey, my friend, I'm really glad you stayed until the end. Let me leave you with something simple, honest, and powerful. This gesture that melts a woman is not a trick. It's not manipulation. It's not a performance. It's the natural expression of a man who is comfortable in his own skin. A man who doesn't chase validation. A man who can offer presence and security without asking for anything in return. A man who knows how to create intimacy without invading space. When you develop this kind of presence, it doesn't just change how women respond to you. It changes how you walk through life. You become calmer, clearer, more grounded. So the next time you're with a woman you're interested in, remember this. It's not about conquering her. It's about offering a safe space where she can relax, open up, and be herself. If you want to go deeper, drop a comment below and write, "I master this gesture." And tell me honestly, which one is hardest for you to apply? The slow approach, the soft gaze, or the secure silence? I read the comments and I'll help you out. If this video helped you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. We're building a community of men who grow through authenticity, not manipulation. Thanks for being here. See you in the next video. Big hug. Take care. Nine hidden signs she's secretly fantasizing about you. She can't stop thinking about you. Psychology tricks. Attraction doesn't shout. It whispers. And only the attentive hear it. When a woman can't get you out of her mind, her behavior tells the story long before her lips ever do. Desire rarely announces itself directly. Instead, it shows up in subtle movements, fleeting expressions, and unconscious habits she doesn't even realize she's revealing. These are the quiet signals, the psychological breadcrumbs that point straight to what she's feeling beneath the surface. Most men miss these signs entirely, not because they aren't there, but because they don't know what to look for. And when those signals go unnoticed, so do opportunities for deeper connection, stronger chemistry, and genuine emotional pull. But once you learn how to read these cues, everything changes. You stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You begin to understand what her actions are already saying for her. In this video, I'm breaking down 9 hidden signs that reveal she's secretly fantasizing about you and thinking about you far more than she lets on. These aren't random habits or coincidence. They're proven psychological indicators that she's moved you out of the casual category and into her private mental world. Make sure you watch until the end, because sign number 9 is the one women struggle the most to hide. It slips through their control and exposes exactly what's going on deep inside her emotions. The first sign is that she fidgets when you're near. The first sign she's secretly fantasizing about you, and one of the most overlooked signals in female psychology, is that she fidgets when you're near. Fidgeting is rarely random and almost never meaningless when attraction is involved. It is one of the clearest physical expressions of nervous energy. Nervous energy appears when emotions rise faster than logic can keep up, when excitement meets uncertainty, and when the body reacts before the mind has time to put on a mask. If she suddenly becomes restless around you, adjusting her bracelet, touching her necklace, twisting a ring, fixing her watch, smoothing her clothes, or lightly tapping her foot, don't brush it off as habit. Habits don't spike suddenly and selectively. Attraction does. Her body is responding to the emotional charge you create without asking her permission first. This is where psychology tricks quietly reveal what words try to hide. When a woman feels drawn to a man, her nervous system becomes more alert. Her awareness sharpens. Her body starts searching for release from that internal tension. That's why she might absent-mindedly play with a pen, bite her nails, shift her weight from side to side, adjust her posture repeatedly, or touch objects near her hands as if she needs something to ground herself. These actions may look small or even cute on the surface, but underneath they signal heightened attention, emotional stimulation, and a subtle loss of composure that only happens when someone matters. Don't assume she's uncomfortable in a negative way. There is a huge difference between discomfort and charged anticipation. Attraction often lives exactly in that space where excitement and self-control collide. Be observant, not reactive. Be calm, not eager. Your steadiness amplifies her emotional response far more than chasing ever could. Notice the timing, because timing is everything in female psychology. If her fidgeting increases the moment you enter the room, when you sit closer, or when direct conversation begins, that pattern tells you far more than compliments ever will. Here's a psychology trick most men miss entirely. Watch what happens when you step away. If the fidgeting fades, slows, or disappears once you're gone, that contrast is powerful evidence that you are the emotional trigger. Your presence created the internal buzz her body was trying to manage. That kind of response doesn't come from casual interest or polite attention. It comes from mental engagement, from curiosity, from imagining possibilities, from wondering how you see her and how she feels when you look back. Don't rush to call it attraction out loud. Don't label it. Don't test it prematurely. The goal isn't to force how to fall in love. The goal is to understand how attraction builds naturally when pressure is absent and confidence is present. Remain grounded. Speak slowly. Listen carefully. Let silence do some of the work. When you don't rush to fill the space, her nervous energy has room to grow. That growth deepens the emotional imprint you leave. This is where psychology tricks become practical wisdom rather than manipulation. Understanding female psychology isn't about control. It's about awareness, about seeing what others overlook and responding with restraint instead of impulse. When you do that, you position yourself as the calm center in her emotional storm. The man whose presence stirs something she can't quite explain, yet keeps her wanting more clarity, more interaction, more proximity. Don't interrupt her fidgeting by calling attention to it. Don't tease her about being nervous. That pulls her back into self-consciousness. Instead, hold eye contact just long enough. Smile lightly, then relax. That combination tells her you see her without needing to claim anything. That quiet assurance is essential in how to fall in love without forcing outcomes. Attraction grows in the space between certainty and mystery. Her fidgeting is proof that space exists, proof that her emotions are active even if her words stay neutral. Trust what you observe. Stay patient. Let her nervous energy do what it naturally wants to do. Pull her closer emotionally while you remain steady, grounded, and unmistakably present. When a woman's body reacts before her mind catches up, it's not coincidence. It's connection forming in real time. Understanding that is one of the most powerful psychology tricks a man can quietly master. The second sign is that she plays with her hair. The second sign she's secretly fantasizing about you, and one that quietly reveals far more than most men realize, is that she plays with her hair. Hair is one of the most powerful tools women use to signal attraction, often without conscious intent. When she twirls a strand between her fingers, runs her hand through it, brushes it behind her ear, or flips it lightly over her shoulder while talking to you, she isn't simply fixing her appearance. She's drawing attention. She's highlighting herself. She's saying, without words, notice me. This behavior is deeply instinctive. She's not planning it. She's not calculating it. Her body is responding to how you make her feel. In moments of attraction, a woman naturally wants to enhance what she believes makes her appealing, and hair becomes a focal point because it frames the face, softens expressions, and signals openness. Don't ignore that. Be aware. That is where psychology speaks louder than conversation. On a deeper level, playing with her hair often reflects nervous excitement. Attraction doesn't always show up as confidence. Sometimes it appears as self-conscious energy. If she feels emotionally stirred around you, her hands may move to her hair as a way to release tension, calm herself, and stay grounded in the moment. This isn't insecurity. This is stimulation. Her mind is engaged. Her emotions are active. Her body is adjusting. That matters. Timing matters even more. If she touches her hair right after making eye contact with you, right as you begin speaking, or during moments of focused attention, it's rarely coincidence. Patterns don't lie. Random habits don't suddenly activate only in your presence. Attraction does. This is female psychology working quietly in the background, revealing interest without needing permission from logic. Don't rush to react. Don't comment on it. Don't call attention to her movements. You must stay centered. A high-value man understands that attraction grows when pressure is absent. When you remain calm, grounded, and relaxed, her awareness of you intensifies. That steadiness strengthens your masculine energy. It signals confidence without words. It creates emotional safety while maintaining mystery. This is how you attract women without chasing them. Hairplay also signals something else that many men miss. It's a form of self-presentation. She's checking herself. She's adjusting. She's subtly asking, "How do I look to you?" That question alone tells you she cares about your perception. Indifference doesn't adjust. Interest does. This doesn't mean she's ready to confess feelings. It means she's mentally placing you into her awareness. She's including you in her internal world. That is a meaningful step. Be patient with it. Let it unfold naturally. But don't stop at the hands. Don't stop at the hair. Because hair and fidgeting are only the surface. The real story is often told through her eyes. Eyes don't lie easily. A woman can control her words. She can even control her posture. But her gaze exposes emotions she hasn't fully decided how to handle yet. Watch how long she holds eye contact. Watch how quickly she looks away. Watch how often her eyes return to you even when she pretends to focus elsewhere. That rhythm tells you everything. When her eyes soften while she touches her hair, when her gaze lingers just a moment longer than necessary, when she looks away and then back again, that combination signals emotional curiosity. She's wondering. She's imagining. She's feeling. Don't interrupt that process. Don't try to rush her into certainty. Confidence doesn't demand answers. Confidence allows space. That is the mindset of a high-value man. Be present. Speak clearly. Listen more than you talk. That is how you amplify attraction. That is how you let her emotions grow without resistance. Masculine energy isn't loud. It's stable. It's controlled. It's calm. When you embody that, her nervous habits intensify because her emotions have room to expand. That's how you attract women who are genuinely interested, not just momentarily entertained. Don't mistake these signs as guarantees. They're indicators, not promises. But patterns matter. Repetition matters. Context matters. When hairplay appears consistently around you and fades when you're gone, that contrast speaks volumes. When her eyes light up when you enter the room, when her posture shifts toward you, when her hands move as if guided by instinct rather than thought, you are witnessing attraction forming in real time. You must resist the urge to label it too early. Don't push. Don't test. Don't seek validation. Let her signals come to you. Let her curiosity deepen. Let her awareness grow. That patience is what separates men who chase attention from men who naturally attract it. A high-value man doesn't need to convince. He allows. Understand this. Attraction isn't built through clever lines. It's built through presence, through emotional steadiness, Through awareness of female psychology without trying to control it. When you see these signs clearly and respond with restraint, you elevate yourself. You strengthen your masculine energy. You become the man who draws interest rather than demands it. So pay attention, not obsessively, calmly. Let her hair tell its story. Let her eyes finish it. Stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay confident. That is how attraction quietly grows. That is how you attract women without force. And that is how a high-value man moves through these moments with clarity, patience, and unmistakable self-respect. If this hit home, don't just scroll past it. That moment when she plays with her hair isn't random. It's awareness. It's attraction. It's her body reacting before her words catch up. So if you understand this, drop a comment right now and claim it. I notice what others overlook. Like this video, subscribe for more sharp psychology and unshakable masculine wisdom, and remind yourself daily, attention is never accidental. It's instinct. The third sign is that her eyes linger on you. When her eyes linger on you, understand this clearly. This is not coincidence, and it is never accidental, because attention is currency and the eyes spend it first. People have said this for centuries, and they were right, because the eyes never lie even when the mouth does. And when a woman is mentally drawn to a man, her gaze reveals what her words carefully hide, holding just a moment longer than polite, returning again and again as if pulled by gravity, glancing away only to come back because the mind is already engaged, already curious, already invested. And science confirms what intuition has always known, because pupil dilation occurs when emotional interest, curiosity, and stimulation are present, meaning her body responds before she has time to calculate or restrain herself. And if her eyes seem brighter, wider, more focused when you speak, that is not admiration alone, that is attention narrowing, that is her world shrinking down to you in that moment. And when her gaze drifts from your eyes to your lips and back again, understand the meaning without confusion, because this is a subconscious projection of intimacy, imagined closeness, a silent rehearsal of something she may never openly admit but cannot stop considering. And this is where modern men often fail, because they either miss the signal entirely or overreact emotionally, and both responses weaken their position. While a man with an iron mind observes without chasing, understands without rushing, and remains grounded in self-command, because attraction deepens in stillness, not in neediness. And this is where Old Stoic wisdom becomes practical power in modern life, because as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, and that strength is exactly what her eyes are searching for. Not validation, not approval, but presence, certainty, emotional stability. The quiet authority of a man who is comfortable being seen without trying to perform. Because when you stay calm under her gaze, when you do not fidget, rush, or seek reassurance, you communicate confidence without words, and confidence amplifies attraction more than any scripted line ever could. And in today's world of constant distraction, where attention is fragmented by screens, notifications, and endless noise, sustained eye contact has become rare and therefore powerful. And when a woman chooses to rest her attention on you, she is choosing you over the chaos, even if only for a moment. And moments compound into impressions. Impressions become emotional memory, and emotional memory becomes longing. And this is why the man who understands these signals does not interrupt them with insecurity. He allows them to breathe, because as William Shakespeare wrote, they are portents, but they are not prophecies, meaning the sign is an invitation, not a guarantee. And how you respond determines whether interest grows or fades. So your instruction here is simple and firm. Notice without staring, acknowledge without chasing, stay relaxed, stay grounded, stay present. Let her eyes do the work while you do nothing but remain centered. Because Stoicism win is not about manipulation, it is about mastery. Mastery of self first, mastery of emotion second, mastery of life third. And when you embody this, you stop trying to extract meaning from every glance and instead allow patterns to reveal themselves naturally, because one look can be curiosity, but repeated lingering is intention. And intention forms when a woman feels safe, intrigued, and emotionally stimulated in your presence. And that safety comes from consistency, calm speech, controlled body language, and emotional independence, all core pillars of Stoicism win. And in modern relationships, where confusion and mixed signals exhaust men emotionally, this clarity becomes your advantage because you are no longer guessing, you are observing. And when you observe correctly, you act less and achieve more because you are not driven by impulse, you are guided by awareness. And awareness sharpens judgment, and judgment builds confidence, and confidence is what makes her eyes return again and again without effort. Because the truth is this: women fantasize not about men who chase attention, but about men who command it naturally, men whose presence feels steady, whose reactions feel measured, whose silence feels intentional. And when you cultivate an iron mind, when you live by Old Stoic wisdom applied to modern life, you stop reacting emotionally to attraction and start leading the interaction calmly. And that leadership is felt long before it is spoken, because her eyes already know before she does. And your task is not to rush the moment, but to hold it with composure, because victory in attraction is not about conquest, it is about control, control of self, control of pace, control of energy. And this is how you master life quietly, decisively, and without force. This is Stoicism win in action, and this is how attention turns into desire without you ever needing to ask for it. The fourth sign is that she leans closer to you. The fourth sign is that she leans closer to you, and this is far more meaningful than most men realize, because physical distance is one of the clearest, most honest forms of communication a person has, especially when words are carefully controlled or emotions are not yet openly expressed. And the truth is simple: people do not step into another person's personal space unless something inside them feels safe, curious, drawn, and quietly excited. So when a woman begins to reduce the distance between you and her, she is not doing it by accident. She is responding to an internal pull she may not even fully understand yet. And that pull is rooted deeply in female psychology, because attraction often shows up in the body long before it shows up in language. And you must understand this if you want to read the situation clearly, without guessing or forcing meaning where it doesn't belong. So pay attention when she leans in while you're speaking, when her shoulders angle toward you instead of away, when she steps closer than necessary even though there is plenty of room. Because those are not random movements. They are subconscious choices. And subconscious choices are where real desire lives. Don't dismiss them. Don't laugh them off. And don't rush to label them as coincidence, because that is how many men miss signals that are right in front of them. And when she brushes lightly against you as she walks by, or lets her arm touch yours for just a moment longer than required, that gentle contact is her body testing connection. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that demands a response, but in a quiet, safe way that allows her to feel how it feels to be close to you. And this is where psychology tricks often mislead men, because the loud signs are easy to spot, but the subtle ones are where the truth hides. And this is one of them. And you must be calm enough to notice it, confident enough not to overreact, and grounded enough not to chase it. Because when she leans closer, she is not asking you to do something. She is revealing something. And there is a big difference. And if you understand female psychology at a deeper level, you'll see that closeness is not only about attraction. It's about comfort, trust, and emotional safety. And when she consistently positions herself near you, chooses the seat next to you even when other seats are open, turns her chair fully toward you instead of keeping her body half turned away, she is signaling that she wants to be present with you. Not just hear you, but feel you. And that matters more than compliments ever could. Because words can be polite, but the body tells the truth. And this is where many men make mistakes, by either ignoring the signal or rushing ahead of it. So don't invade her space. Don't mirror her movement immediately. And don't assume closeness equals permission, because attraction grows best when it is allowed to breathe. And the irony is that when you remain composed, relaxed, and emotionally steady, her body will often move even closer on its own, because confidence creates safety. and safety fuels desire. And this is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks in attraction. The less you push, the more the pull strengthens. And when she leans in again and again across different moments, different conversations, different settings, that repetition is key because patterns reveal intention. And intention is where how to fall in love truly begins. Not with dramatic gestures, but with consistent, comfortable closeness. And you must be present enough to notice that she is not just leaning toward your words. She is leaning toward your energy, your calm, your presence. And this is especially important for men between 35 and 70, because attraction at this stage of life is rarely loud or impulsive. It is subtle, intentional, and deeply rooted in emotional resonance. And when a woman leans closer to you, she is often doing something very personal. She is inviting you into her emotional space without saying it out loud. And that takes trust. And trust does not come easily. So don't rush to label it. Don't pressure it. And don't test it with insecurity. Be steady, be observant, and let the moment unfold. Because when you understand female psychology, you understand that leaning closer is often her way of saying, I feel connected here. And that connection is the foundation of attraction that lasts. Not the kind that burns fast and fades, but the kind that grows quietly and stays. And if you want to know how to fall in love without losing yourself, this is where it starts. By respecting the signal without exploiting it, by acknowledging the closeness without demanding more, and by staying grounded in who you are. Because the most powerful response to her leaning closer is not action. It is presence. And when you master that, you stop chasing signs and start recognizing them. You stop guessing and start understanding. And you naturally step into a position where attraction flows toward you instead of away. And that is the real lesson hidden inside this fourth sign, one that most men overlook. But the ones who understand psychology tricks and female psychology deeply never do, because they know that closeness is not about touching. It is about connection. And connection is what opens the door to something real. If this opened your eyes, don't just watch and move on. Take action. Like the video, subscribe for more psychology tricks, and drop your comment below to lock this lesson in. Comment to remember, when she leans closer, her feelings are already speaking. The fifth sign is that she mirrors your actions. The fifth sign is that she mirrors your actions, and this is one of the most fascinating and revealing psychology tricks in attraction, because mirroring is not something people usually do on purpose. It happens beneath awareness, quietly, naturally, and almost always honestly. When a woman mirrors you, she is not performing. She is responding. This is how human beings instinctively build comfort, trust, and emotional connection. Think of it like two instruments slowly tuning to the same frequency. At first, the sound is uneven. Then, without effort, they align. That is mirroring. And when it happens between a man and a woman, it tells you something important is already in motion. If you cross your arms and moments later she does the same, that is not coincidence. If you lean forward slightly and she follows your movement, that is not mimicry for fun. That is alignment. If your tone is calm and measured and she begins to soften her voice to match, that is emotional syncing. Pay attention. Don't rush past it. Don't laugh it off. Because mirroring is one of the clearest signs that she is mentally and emotionally engaged with you. Mirroring goes far beyond posture or gestures. It reaches into rhythm, mood, and energy. If you speak slowly and thoughtfully and she adjusts her pace to meet yours, she is tuning in. If you become more animated and she matches that enthusiasm, she is meeting you where you are. And this matters because attraction is not built through impressing. It is built through resonance. When she mirrors you, she is saying, without words, I'm here with you. This is female psychology at work in its most honest form. Her subconscious wants harmony. Her mind wants to stay connected. Her emotions want to feel safe in your presence. And safety is where attraction deepens, especially for men in the 35 to 70 range, where connection is no longer about speed, but about substance. Be clear about this. Mirroring does not mean agreement. It does not mean submission. It means rapport. It means her nervous system feels comfortable enough around you to sync. That is not something you can fake. And it is not something you can force. You must earn it through presence, calm confidence, and consistency. That is why a high value man often experiences mirroring without trying. He is grounded. He is steady. He is not chasing reactions. And because of that, people naturally adjust his pace. This is masculine energy expressed quietly, not loudly. It does not demand attention. It attracts it. Watch what happens when you change your energy. If you become serious and reflective and her tone softens to match, she is emotionally tracking you. If you relax and smile and she mirrors that ease, she is responding to your emotional lead. This is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks because many men look only for obvious signs, big gestures, clear statements. But attraction rarely announces itself. It reveals itself in patterns. And mirroring is a pattern you cannot ignore if it appears consistently. One moment means little. Repetition means everything. If she mirrors you once, notice it. If she mirrors you across different moments, different conversations, different environments, understand it. Because repetition reveals investment. Do not test her. Do not exaggerate your movements. Do not turn this into a game. Be natural. Be yourself. Let the interaction flow. The moment you try to manipulate mirroring, you break the connection. And remember this: a high-value man does not chase signs. He recognizes them. He does not rush forward. He allows attraction to unfold. That patience is part of what helps attract women who are emotionally mature and genuinely interested. Masculine energy is not about control. It is about calm leadership. And mirroring often follows leadership naturally. There is another layer here many men miss. She may also mirror your values, your language, and your outlook. If you speak about life with optimism and purpose, and she begins to echo those ideas, that is deeper alignment. If you express curiosity and she mirrors that openness, that is emotional compatibility forming in real time. This is not imitation. This is connection. And connection is how to fall in love slowly, safely, and with clarity. Not through intensity, not through pressure, but through shared rhythm. Don't confuse mirroring with flattery. Flattery is conscious. Mirroring is instinctive. One is chosen. The other simply happens. And because it is subconscious, it is far more reliable. Female psychology often reveals desire through behavior long before words catch up. That is why men who understand these signs stop guessing and start observing. They stop performing and start leading with authenticity. And that authenticity is what allows them to attract women who feel emotionally seen and understood. Be present enough to notice. Be grounded enough not to react impulsively. Be confident enough to let the moment breathe. Because when she mirrors you, she is not asking for proof. She is responding to who you already are. That is powerful. That is real. And that is why this fifth sign matters so much. It tells you that she is not just listening to you. She is aligning with you. And alignment is where attraction turns into connection, where connection turns into trust, and where trust opens the door to something meaningful. The sixth sign is that her feet point toward you. The sixth sign is subtle, quiet, and powerful, and it reveals far more than words ever could. Her feet point toward you, and this is not coincidence. It is psychology in motion. Most people never think to look down, yet the body always tells the truth before the mouth does, and feet are among the most honest indicators of interest in human behavior, far more honest than smiles, nods, or polite conversation. Because facial expressions can be trained, filtered, and controlled, while the feet operate almost entirely outside conscious awareness, reacting directly to where attention, comfort, and curiosity truly live. When a woman's feet angle toward you during a conversation, even if her eyes drift or her words are shared with others, it means her mind has already locked onto you as the focal point. In group settings, this signal becomes even clearer because she might be laughing with friends, responding to someone else, or appearing socially engaged, yet if her feet remain pointed toward you, her subconscious has already chosen you as the center of gravity in that space. As the old saying goes, the body never lies, a truth echoed by Ralph Waldo Emerson when he said, What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say, because attraction is rarely announced. It is revealed through alignment. And alignment always begins at the ground. In modern life, where people are distracted, overstimulated, and trained to mask their intentions behind screens and social scripts, these physical cues matter more than ever because attention is the most valuable currency we have. And when her feet point toward you, she is investing that currency without realizing it, placing you at the center of her mental map. This is where Old Stoic wisdom quietly applies, because the Stoics taught that truth shows itself through action, not declaration, through patterns, not promises, and this single signal fits perfectly within that framework because it is not forced, not performative, not designed to impress. It simply is. On the other hand, when feet consistently angle toward an exit, another person, or away from you, it signals that her mind is elsewhere, already preparing to disengage, already searching for distance, and again, this is not about judgment. It is about awareness, because awareness is power, and power is calm, and calm is the mark of an iron mind. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you, and the same applies here, because recognizing attraction does not mean chasing it, reacting to it, or clinging to it. It means understanding the terrain and moving with clarity instead of hope, with observation instead of need. And that is exactly what Stoicism represents in modern relationships, the ability to read reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. For men navigating dating and connection later in life, especially between 35 and 70, this insight is crucial because attraction today is rarely loud. It is layered, nuanced, and often unspoken, shaped by experience, caution, and emotional memory, and women who have lived and learned are far more likely to reveal interest through subtle consistency than bold gestures. So when her feet consistently point toward you across time, across settings, across moods, it means you feel safe, intriguing, and mentally stimulating to her, and that is no small thing, because safety and intrigue rarely coexist unless you are grounded, present, and self-contained. This is where iron mind thinking separates men who feel confused from men who feel composed, because instead of overanalyzing texts, replaying conversations, or seeking validation, you observe patterns, and patterns tell the truth. As Carl Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And here, you are simply making the unconscious visible. The advice is simple but demanding. Do not chase signs, do not confront them, do not test them. Instead, remain steady, remain attentive, remain centered, because attraction deepens when it feels unpressured, when it feels earned rather than extracted. Let it inform your confidence, not inflate your ego. Let it guide your pace, not rush your actions, because mastery in life and relationships comes from restraint paired with awareness, not impulse paired with excitement. In a world obsessed with fast signals and loud confirmations, this quiet cue rewards patience, and patience has always been a Stoic advantage, because as Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And bravery here means trusting what you see without forcing what you want, standing firm without demanding reassurance, and allowing attraction to grow naturally within the boundaries of self-respect. This is how you win without competing, how you attract without pushing, how you master life without chasing approval. Because when your presence is calm, your energy grounded, and your attention measured, others will unconsciously align toward you, sometimes starting with nothing more than a pair of feet pointing your way. And if you can recognize that, respect that, and remain unchanged by it, you're already practicing Old Stoic wisdom, already living Stoicism already strengthening an iron mind that sees clearly, moves deliberately, and understands that true victory is not being wanted, but being unshaken. If you notice this sign, you're already seeing what most men miss. Attraction speaks before words ever do. When her feet choose you, her mind already has. If this resonated, drop this in the comments to lock it in and engage with the channel. I recognize real attraction when it reveals itself, silently, honestly, and without confusion. The seventh sign is that she touches her neck or collarbone. The seventh sign is when she touches her neck or collarbone around you, and this is one of the most quietly revealing behaviors a woman displays, because these areas are naturally sensitive, exposed, and emotionally charged, meaning her body is responding before her words ever catch up. And when she adjusts her necklace, lightly brushes her fingers along her collarbone, or rubs the back of her neck while speaking to you, it's rarely random or meaningless. Because female psychology tells us that the body often communicates interest long before the mind consciously admits it. And there are two powerful forces working together here that most men overlook. The first is self-soothing, because when attraction creates excitement and internal tension, the nervous system looks for subtle ways to calm itself. Touching the neck is a deeply ingrained calming gesture. It helps regulate emotion, lower internal pressure, and steady her breathing. So don't dismiss it as fidgeting. The observant, because this is her body managing the emotional charge you're creating. The second force at play is signaling, because the neck and collarbone are intimate areas that are rarely highlighted unless a woman feels safe, engaged, and emotionally open. And when she draws attention to them in your presence, she's unconsciously inviting your awareness without making a direct move, which is a classic example of how attraction operates beneath the surface through suggestion rather than declaration. And this is where psychology tricks come into play, because attraction isn't loud, it's layered. And when she pairs this gesture with steady eye contact, a soft smile, or a slight lean toward you, the meaning intensifies. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. And you must understand that comfort and attraction are inseparable at this stage, because a woman does not expose vulnerability unless she feels emotionally grounded in your presence. So don't rush. Don't interrupt the moment. Don't force a response. Instead, stay centered. Stay calm. Because how to fall in love often begins with emotional safety rather than dramatic gestures. And the way you respond matters more than the gesture itself. Because if you become reactive, overconfident, or distracted, you break the emotional rhythm she's creating. But if you remain present, grounded, and attentive, you allow her interest to deepen naturally. And this is why men who understand female psychology don't chase signals. They allow signals to come to them, because attraction grows in the space where pressure is absent. And when she touches her neck while listening closely to you, nodding, or asking personal questions, it shows she's not only physically engaged, but mentally invested. And that mental placement is crucial, because once a woman starts associating calm, safety, and emotional stimulation with your presence, the bond forms quietly but powerfully. And this is where many men sabotage themselves, by over-explaining, oversharing, or trying to impress, when the real move is restraint. Because confidence is felt most strongly when nothing needs to be proven. So be steady, be deliberate. Let silence do some of the work, because silence allows her thoughts to fill in the gaps. And those gaps often become fantasies. And psychology tricks aren't about manipulation. They're about understanding human nature, because attraction follows patterns whether people are aware of them or not. And when a woman repeatedly exposes vulnerable areas of her body around you, especially during emotionally charged moments, she's signaling openness and trust, which are prerequisites for deeper emotional connection. And you must recognize that this sign often appears when she's internally conflicted, between wanting to maintain control and wanting to lean in. And that tension is what creates the behavior. So don't misread it, don't dismiss it, and don't rush to label it. Instead, observe the consistency, because patterns reveal intention. And when this behavior appears repeatedly only around you and not others, that exclusivity matters, because attention is selective, and attraction narrows focus. And this is how to fall in love without forcing it, by allowing emotional cues to unfold organically while you remain composed, curious, and grounded. Because women don't fall for words alone. They fall for how they feel when they're around you. And if your presence allows her to feel calm yet stimulated, safe yet intrigued, then her body will continue to speak even when her mouth stays quiet. And that is the quiet power of understanding female psychology. Because once you see these signs clearly, you stop guessing. You stop doubting, and you start responding with intention rather than impulse. And that is what separates men who are constantly confused from men who are quietly chosen. Because attraction isn't created by pushing, it's created by presence. And when you recognize these moments for what they are and respond with patience and self-control, you allow the connection to move forward on its own momentum, which is always the strongest kind. And this is why psychology tricks work best when they're rooted in awareness rather than tactics. Because the goal isn't to force emotion, it's to recognize it when it's already forming. And when she touches her neck or collarbone while engaging with you, that moment is an invitation, not for action, but for steadiness. And if you honor it correctly, you'll notice that her openness grows, her comfort deepens, and her attention stays. Because how to fall in love often begins long before anyone admits it out loud. And the body always knows first. The eighth sign is that she blushes around you. The eighth sign is that she blushes around you, and this one matters more than most men realize because blushing is one of the clearest windows into female psychology and one of the most reliable psychology tricks the body reveals without permission. Blushing is not strategy. It is not performance. It is not something she plans or practices. That soft warmth rising to her cheeks happens when emotion slips past control, when attraction reaches a level that the nervous system reacts before the mind can intervene. When a woman feels a sudden mix of excitement, curiosity, and emotional tension around a man, blood naturally rushes to the face, and that visible change becomes a quiet confession. If you notice her cheeks warming when you walk into the room, when you speak her name, when you offer a genuine compliment, or when you step just a little closer into her space, don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it away. Don't assume it's coincidence. Be aware. That is her body responding to you in real time. This is where how to fall in love becomes less about words and more about awareness. Many men miss this sign because they are trained to look for loud signals, bold gestures, or dramatic moves, but attraction often speaks in subtle ways. Blushing bypasses logic. It jumps past rehearsed responses. It goes straight to truth. That is why it matters so much. A woman may try to remain composed. She may keep her tone steady. She may even change the subject. But her body has already spoken. That is female psychology at work, revealing itself through instinct rather than intention. When you see this sign, you must slow down, not speed up. Don't pressure. Don't push. Be calm. Be grounded. That is how trust deepens. That is how emotional connection forms naturally. Blushing often appears when she feels seen, when your attention lands on her in a way that feels personal rather than performative. It is the body's response to being emotionally touched without physical contact. This is one of those psychology tricks that works in reverse. Instead of you trying to create attraction, attraction reveals itself to you. And once you understand this, your behavior changes. You stop chasing reactions. You start observing patterns. You learn how to fall in love by recognizing when emotion is already present and allowing it to breathe. Blushing tells you that you matter in that moment. It tells you that your presence affects her internal state. That is not small. That is significant. Be respectful of it. Be patient with it. Don't try to force clarity too quickly. Let the moment stand. Because when attraction reaches the point where the body reacts before the mind, you are no longer guessing. You are witnessing truth unfold quietly, honestly, and without disguise. The ninth and final sign is that she focuses on her lips. The ninth and final sign is quiet, controlled, and incredibly revealing, and it shows up when she focuses on her lips, because when a woman can't stop thinking about you, her body often speaks before her mind catches up. And the lips become a subconscious outlet for imagination, desire, and emotional attention. You may see her gently bite her lower lip, lightly lick them, press them together, or touch them absent-mindedly while listening to you, and none of this is accidental, because as William James once said, the body reacts before the mind explains. In modern life, where people are trained to hide feelings behind screens, filters, and polite conversation, these microsignals are some of the last honest tells left. When her eyes briefly drift from your eyes to your lips and back again while her fingers linger near her mouth, She is not just listening, she is visualizing, imagining closeness, imagining what it would feel like to be nearer to you. And this is where Old Stoic wisdom becomes powerful, because the man with an iron mind does not rush, does not chase, does not react impulsively. He observes. He remains grounded. He lets attraction reveal itself naturally, and that calm restraint is exactly what deepens her focus. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events," and this applies perfectly here, because the moment you stay composed instead of overeager, you amplify her imagination. You give her space to project desire. And that is how Stoicism plays out in real relationships today, not through manipulation, but through presence, clarity, and self-control. Understand this clearly. Attraction grows strongest in silence. Tension builds in restraint. Fantasy flourishes when a man does not beg for attention, but commands respect through calm confidence. So your instruction is simple. Hold eye contact without staring. Speak slowly and deliberately. Don't fill every pause. Don't lean in too fast. Let her lips betray her thoughts while you remain centered, because repetition matters. Calm creates curiosity, patience creates pull, and emotional discipline creates magnetism. In a world addicted to instant gratification, the man who embodies Old Stoic wisdom stands apart. The man with an iron mind lets signals come to him. And the man who lives Stoicism understands that attraction is not forced, it is invited, reinforced, and deepened by mastery of self. Remember this. She focuses on her lips because she is already focused on you. She touches them because her imagination is active. And she can't stop thinking because you didn't try to control the moment. You allowed it to unfold. And that is how you master not just attraction, but life itself. All right, my friend, before we wrap this up, let's bring everything into focus. What you've just learned isn't about guessing or hoping, it's about seeing clearly. When a woman is truly fantasizing about you, when you're on her mind more than she admits, her body gives her away through these 9 quiet signals. One sign alone means little, but when several appear together, the message is undeniable. Words can be filtered, they can be softened, they can even deceive. Body language doesn't play that game. It comes straight from the subconscious, and it tells the truth every time. So here's my sincere advice. Don't chase words, don't argue with mixed signals, and don't overinvest in confusion. Observe. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Let reality reveal itself. If this video gave you clarity, hit the like button so other men can learn what most never see. Subscribe for more insight into attraction, relationships, and the hidden layers of psychology. Until next time, stay aware, stay disciplined, and move through life with quiet confidence. She texted after silence, say this to instantly regain power, psychology tricks. She went quiet. No messages, no calls, no closure. Then, just as you finally start regaining your balance, she pops back up. One casual text, one harmless, "Hey," and suddenly the door you worked so hard to close swings open again. Now your mind is racing. What does this mean? Is she testing me? If I reply, do I lose ground? Understand this clearly. Moments like this are not emotional accidents. They're turning points. How you respond right now decides whether you step back into your frame or hand your power away. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is one of those moments. Most men stumble here, not because they're foolish, but because they're emotionally invested. They reply too fast, too warmly, too available, and without realizing it, they erase weeks, sometimes months, of progress. Today, I'll break down how to answer when she resurfaces after silence, using emotional dynamics and psychological insight most men never learn. Get this wrong and respect evaporates. Get it right and the balance of power quietly shifts back to you. Before we go further, a quick word. If these lessons have been helping you see situations more clearly and act with confidence, you can support this work by subscribing to my Facebook paid membership, sending stars, or joining the YouTube channel's paid community. Your support allows me to keep creating direct, honest guidance, and I'm genuinely grateful for it. Now, let's get into the real reason she came back and what your next move must be. 1. The real reason she came back. The real reason she came back has almost nothing to do with destiny, romance, or sudden emotional clarity, and you must let go of that illusion immediately if you want to understand what is actually happening beneath the surface. Because believing she reached out because she realized your value is comforting but inaccurate, and inaccurate beliefs always lead to weak decisions. She didn't text because she woke up overwhelmed with longing. She didn't reach out because she finally understood how rare you are. She came back because something shifted internally. Something destabilized the emotional structure she had built elsewhere. And when emotional structures weaken, the mind automatically searches for equilibrium. That search often moves backward before it moves forward because humans are not linear emotional beings. They are cyclical, reflective, and deeply influenced by uncertainty. This is where psychology tricks begin to matter, not manipulation, but understanding cause and effect, because behavior always follows emotional tension, and emotional tension rises when certainty disappears. When you went silent, you didn't punish her. You didn't teach her a lesson. You simply removed a source of emotional regulation she had quietly relied on. The removal of a stabilizing force always creates discomfort, even if that force was taken for granted, because comfort is invisible until it's gone. Once gone, the nervous system notices immediately, especially in emotionally attentive minds shaped by female psychology, which is wired to monitor connection, continuity, and emotional flow at all times, not consciously, but instinctively. When that flow breaks, curiosity doesn't fade. It intensifies. Because unanswered emotional questions feel heavier than answered ones, even if the answer is disappointing. So don't assume her return equals desire. Assume it equals unresolved tension. Silence doesn't erase emotional memory. Silence creates a vacuum. And vacuums invite investigation, not closure. This is where most men misunderstand what silence actually does, because they think silence is absence, when in reality silence is presence without access. Presence without access forces reevaluation. When attention is always available, it becomes background noise. But when attention disappears, it becomes signal. Your silence transformed you from something familiar into something undefined, and the undefined always commands attention because the human mind hates loose ends, especially emotionally driven minds that constantly catalog relational data, how someone made them feel, how reliable they were, how predictable their availability was. When you went quiet, you became the one unresolved variable in her internal system, the question mark that didn't resolve itself naturally. That discomfort builds quietly over time, not as longing, but as curiosity. Not as love, but as cognitive friction. Eventually, friction demands release. That release often arrives in the form of a simple message, a casual check-in, a neutral opener designed not to confess anything, but to reopen the channel and restore emotional certainty. Because certainty feels safe, and safety is more compelling than attraction when emotional balance is threatened. This is why her message may feel emotionally loaded to you while being emotionally cautious on her end, because she is not returning with intention. She is returning with inquiry. That distinction matters deeply because the moment you misinterpret inquiry as invitation, you surrender leverage. Leverage is not about control. It's about emotional positioning. Emotional positioning determines who leads the dynamic and who reacts to it. When men respond too quickly, too warmly, too emotionally, they collapse the space that silence created. Space is where attraction breathes. Attraction requires room to grow, not reassurance to survive. Understanding how to fall in love at a psychological level means understanding that emotional bonds deepen not through availability alone, but through balance, presence paired with independence, care paired with self-respect, interest paired with boundaries. When you went silent, you unintentionally demonstrated independence. Independence recalibrates perceived value because it signals that your emotional state is self-contained, not externally regulated. That signal flips a psychological switch because people are drawn to emotional stability in others when their own stability feels uncertain. That's why she noticed your absence only after it occurred, not before, because absence reveals what presence concealed. Here's the crucial truth most men resist. She didn't come back because you proved something. She came back because you stopped proving anything. Proving invites evaluation, while restraint invites curiosity. Curiosity is the gateway emotion that precedes attraction, not the other way around. If she truly felt indifferent, she would not have reached out at all. Indifference doesn't investigate, it ignores. But she didn't ignore you, which means your silence disrupted her emotional expectations. Disrupted expectations create internal dialogue. Internal dialogue eventually seeks external confirmation. That confirmation attempt arrived as a text, not a declaration, not an apology, not a confession, just a door knock. Knocking doesn't require vulnerability. It only requires curiosity. Your response, or lack of composure, determines whether that curiosity grows or resolves itself quickly. This is where men either regain their footing or lose it entirely, because reacting emotionally tells her everything she needs to know immediately. It restores certainty. It answers the question she didn't ask directly. Once certainty is restored, attraction no longer has room to expand. So don't rush. Don't explain your silence. Don't justify your absence. Don't flood the moment with emotion. Be grounded. Be slow. Be intentional. This moment is not about rekindling anything yet. It's about holding emotional equilibrium. The man who understands psychology tricks knows that emotional strength is quiet, not performative. He knows that female psychology responds to emotional consistency more than emotional intensity. Intensity without stability feels exciting but unsafe. Stability without desperation feels grounding and attractive. Grounding is what draws people back repeatedly, not fireworks. If you want to understand how to fall in love in a way that lasts, you must understand that love is not triggered by chasing, explaining, or proving. Love grows where curiosity meets respect, where space meets presence, where emotional safety meets autonomy. That balance is fragile. Silence created it. Your job now is not to collapse it through urgency, but to protect it through composure. Composure communicates self-trust. Self-trust is contagious. Once she senses that you are not emotionally dependent on her response, her emotional system must decide whether to move closer or step away. Either way, the decision becomes hers, not yours. That is power, not dominance, not control, but choice. The man who remains centered allows others to reveal their intentions naturally. That revelation is far more valuable than forcing outcomes prematurely. Forced clarity kills attraction. Earned clarity deepens it. That is why silence works, not as a tactic, but as a truth signal. Once you understand that, you stop fearing silence. You stop overvaluing messages. You start responding from strength instead of anticipation. And that shift alone changes everything. 2. The biggest mistakes men make. The biggest mistake men make in this situation is simple, predictable, and costly. Let me tell you exactly what not to do. Do not respond instantly. Do not ask where she went. Do not say, "I missed you." Do not confront her emotionally. Do not act cold or angry. And above all, do not over-explain yourself. These reactions feel natural, even justified, but they quietly dismantle your position the moment you send them. Why? Because her message is not about logic. It is about emotional positioning. That is the part most men misunderstand. The moment you chase clarity, reassurance, or answers, you surrender leverage without realizing it. You move from being the one evaluated to the one explaining, and that shift changes everything. When men respond immediately with questions like, "Where have you been?" or "Why didn't you text me back?" they believe they are being direct, honest, and emotionally open. But emotionally open is not the same as emotionally grounded. What you are actually doing in that moment is revealing your internal state. You are showing that her absence occupied space in your mind. You are signaling that you noticed every day of silence. You are communicating that you were waiting, that you were wondering, that you were checking your phone. And once that signal is sent, it cannot be taken back. This is not about shame or pride. This is about understanding female psychology and how attraction responds to emotional signals, not explanations. That kind of emotional transparency might feel mature, even noble. But in attraction dynamics, it removes mystery instantly. Mystery is not deception. Mystery is simply not putting your inner world on display before it is earned. When she senses that you were deeply affected by the silence, her nervous system relaxes. The tension that pulled her back dissolves. The curiosity fades. The psychological question that motivated her message gets answered too easily. She now knows exactly where she stands. And certainty, when given too fast, is rarely attractive. Women are drawn to emotional challenge, not emotional certainty, not chaos, not games, but calm unpredictability. When you give certainty immediately, you remove the very ingredient that caused her to reach out in the first place. This is where many men confuse kindness with availability. A high-value man understands the difference. He does not punish silence, but he also does not reward it with emotional urgency. He doesn't rush to prove that he was affected. He doesn't rush to close the gap. He lets the moment breathe. That is masculine energy in its most controlled form. Calm, steady, unforced. When you react too fast, you collapse the emotional space that was working in your favor. When you slow down, you keep the frame intact. Acting cold or angry is just as damaging. Some men swing to the opposite extreme, believing that emotional withdrawal or sharp responses will restore balance. It won't. Anger still communicates investment. Coldness still communicates hurt. Both reveal that her silence had power over you. And power is the one thing you cannot afford to hand over. Be neutral. Be composed. Be measured. That is not indifference. That is self-respect. A man who can remain centered does not need to perform distance or demand closeness. He allows his presence to speak for itself. Over-explaining is another silent mistake. Men often feel the urge to justify their own silence, their behavior, or their emotional stance. Don't. Explanations come from insecurity, not strength. The moment you start laying out your reasoning, your feelings, your internal debate, you shift the interaction into emotional labor mode. You are now working to be understood instead of being observed. That dynamic does not attract women. It reassures them. And reassurance is comfortable, not magnetic. If your goal is to attract women, you must resist the urge to narrate your inner world every time there is tension. Understand this clearly. Her text is not an invitation to pour your heart out. It is a temperature check. She is feeling the change in emotional availability and wants to know if the door is still open in the same way. Your job is not to slam the door or throw it wide open. Your job is to answer from a grounded place. Short, calm, unreactive. That response keeps the psychological tension alive. It keeps curiosity present. And it signals that you are emotionally independent, which is one of the core traits of a high-value man. Masculine energy is not about control over others. It is about control over self. When you respond without urgency, you show self-regulation. When you don't chase clarity, you show confidence. When you don't demand explanations, you show that your emotional stability does not depend on her behavior. That is what makes your presence feel solid. That is what shifts the dynamic without confrontation. And that is how you maintain leverage without manipulation. Many men believe attraction grows from being understood. In reality, attraction grows from being respected. Respect comes from boundaries, not speeches. From consistency, not emotional surges. From calm presence, not reaction. If you want to attract women long-term, you must stop responding from anxiety and start responding from alignment. Alignment with your values. Alignment with your pace. Alignment with your life. That is how to move through these moments without losing ground. So remember this. Don't respond instantly. Don't interrogate. Don't confess. Don't explain. Be steady. Be patient. Be intentional. That is how a high-value man handles silence. That is how masculine energy stays intact. And that is how you attract women without chasing, without pressure, and without betraying yourself in the process. If this hit home, don't just watch, claim it. Drop a comment right now and lock this mindset in. I don't chase clarity. I hold my position. Like the video, subscribe for more unshakable psychology, and remind yourself daily, silence isn't weakness, it's leverage. 3. Understanding the test she is running. When she texts after a stretch of silence, treat it like what it is, a test of your internal state, not a request for your feelings, and your response must never be emotional. It must be strategic, calm, and deliberately chosen. Because whether she admits it or not, her message is quietly asking, does he still need me? Did I still affect him? Did he move on? Am I still important? And the painful truth is most men answer all those questions instantly, accidentally, and incorrectly by replying with too much heat, too much explanation, too much proving. Don't do that, because her text is not a love letter, it's a probe. An emotional ping sent into your territory to collect data, to see if you're still the same man who is hooked and invested, or if something has changed, if you've evolved, if you've detached, if you've upgraded your self-control, and you have to understand. This with mature eyes. This is not necessarily mean-spirited. It's instinctive, and modern dating just makes it more visible, because attention is a currency now, and silence is a statement now, and messages are little check-ins that reveal far more than words. Women, by nature and by life experience, pay attention to emotional steadiness in men, because steadiness signals safety, and safety signals capability, and capability signals a future that won't collapse the moment. Uncertainty shows up, so when she reaches out, she is checking one main thing. Are you still reactive, or have you leveled up? Are you still ruled by the moment, or do you rule the moment? Are you still pleading for connection? Or are you offering access to your presence on your terms? And that's why your reply must be a controlled answer, not a confession, because you're being measured for composure, not graded for romance. Remember what Marcus Aurelius warned. You have power over your mind, not outside events, is the core of the test, and if you want to pass, you must first decide what kind of man you are going to be when a message hits your screen. Don't become a puppet yanked by a notification. Don't hand your nervous system to someone else's thumbs. Don't let one "hey" or "how have you been" turn you into a courtroom lawyer arguing your worth. Be quiet inside. Be clear outside. Be short. Be clean. Be steady. Because the man who can stay grounded when emotion is available is rare, and rarity creates value. Think of her text like a drone flying over a base. It's scanning for movement, scanning for chaos, scanning for desperate activity, and most men start running around and lighting flares, paragraphs, over-explaining, jokes that beg for approval. Questions stacked on questions. Emotional updates, I missed you, I was wondering, why did you disappear? And all of that screams the same thing. You still control me, so don't do it. Instead, hold your frame the way Old Stoic wisdom teaches. No dramatics, no punishment, no rewards. No chasing, no lectures, no subtle guilt. You are not there to scold her, and you are not there to audition for her. You are there to demonstrate that your life is stable with or without her, and that stability is magnetic. Epictetus. Put it clean. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And in texting, your reaction is the whole story. A reactive reply tells her you are still emotionally stationed at the gate waiting for her return, while a measured reply tells her you have a full life, a centered mind, and standards, and in today's world, where attention is cheap and agitation is everywhere, that calm hits like a spotlight. So here are your instructions, simple and sharp. Don't respond from adrenaline, respond from discipline. Don't respond to relieve your tension, respond to reveal your strength. Don't try to win her back in one text. Win your self-respect in every text. You must pause before you type, because the pause is where power lives. Take a breath, read her message once, then ask yourself one question. What does a steady man do right now? And then do only that. This is where Stoicism win becomes practical, not philosophical, because the point of Stoic practice is not to look cold, it's to be unshakable, to stop bleeding emotion onto situations that don't deserve it, and to move with intention. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free," and in modern dating, the bravest thing is not chasing, it's not panicking, it's not spiraling, it's staying composed and choosing your next move from clarity. You're not pretending you don't care. You're simply refusing to let care turn into neediness, because neediness is not love, it's fear in a nice outfit, and fear always makes you bargain. Be careful here. You can be respectful without being available. You can be warm without being wide open. You can be direct without being dramatic, and that balance is exactly what she is looking for when she tests you. If she senses you're emotionally fragile, she doesn't think, good, he loves me. She thinks, this feels heavy and heavy. Does not create longing, light, calm, and confident creates longing. This is Old Stoic wisdom in plain English. Keep your internal weather stable even when the outside weather changes. Your phone is not a leash. Your emotions are not a public announcement. Your value is not negotiated through a screen. Now, how does this apply to real life for men 35 to 70? You've got responsibilities, work pressure, family stress, health goals, bills, time that moves faster every year, and you cannot afford to let one person's mixed signals hijack your focus. Modern life rewards the man who can concentrate. Modern life breaks the man who can't, so treat texting the same way you treat business. You don't make major decisions while emotional. You don't reply while triggered. You don't sign contracts in a panic, and you don't hand away leverage by oversharing. If she pulls away and later returns with a casual message, your job is not to unload the emotional backlog. Your job is to show emotional leadership. Leadership is calm. Leadership is patient. Leadership is a man who can hold space without begging. This is where your iron mind is built, not in the gym only, but in the moment you want to react and you don't. Not in the motivational quotes only, but in the discipline of a clean response. Not in the fantasy of being picked, but in the reality of being grounded. Viktor Frankl, who understood pressure better than most, said, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and that space is your throne. Sit in it. Use it. Don't rush to answer her test like a student desperate for a grade. Answer it like a man who knows who he is. If you reply with emotional intensity, you hand her instant proof that she still has you. If you reply with composed simplicity, you hand her uncertainty, and uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity brings attention back to you, not because you're playing games, but because you're no longer predictable. Predictability creates comfort, and comfort kills tension, and tension is the spark. So be calm enough to let her wonder. Be controlled enough to let silence do some of the work. Be confident enough to not chase closure. You must keep your response short and deliberate because long messages feel like justification. You must keep it neutral because neutrality says, I'm good. Either way, you must keep your tone respectful because respect is strength. You must avoid explaining the past because the past is a trap. You must avoid interrogating her because interrogation signals insecurity. You must avoid emotional updates because emotional updates signal you've been waiting. Instead, give a reply that communicates composure, self-respect, and forward motion. Think in terms of, good to hear from you. Hope you're well. Or, hey, I'm in the middle of something. What's up? Or, nice to hear from you. I'm free later this week if you want to catch up. Those kinds of lines do three things at once. They don't punish her, they don't reward her, and they don't reveal your emotional position, and that is strategic strength. It tells her you're not bitter, you're not begging, and you're not stuck. It tells her you have a life. It tells her you're open, but not available for free. It tells her you're calm, and calm is the ultimate flex. And here's the deeper lesson. This isn't just about her. It's about you. Because every time you practice this, you become harder to shake in every area of life. At work, under stress, in conflict, in uncertainty. You become the man who can handle delayed replies, delayed results, delayed gratification. You become the man who doesn't spiral. You become the man who moves forward. That's Stoicism win as a lifestyle, not a slogan. That's Old Stoic wisdom applied to modern dating. That's an iron mind in action. So take this seriously. The next time she texts after silence, do not treat it like water. In a desert, treat it like a test of your standards. Do not flood her with emotion. Give her clarity. Do not chase a feeling. Hold your frame. Do not seek validation. Choose direction. And if you do this consistently, you won't just regain power. In one conversation, you will regain mastery over yourself, and self-mastery is the only power that lasts. Remember, You're not trying to convince her you're valuable. You're demonstrating it through emotional steadiness. You're not trying to win her. Mood, you're winning your mindset. You're not trying to control her behavior, you're controlling your response. And that is how a man becomes unforgettable. Calm posture, clear words, steady energy, and the quiet confidence that says, without saying, I'm good, I'm growing, I'm moving forward. 4. The power frame you must hold. The power frame you must hold before you reply is not a trick you memorize or a line you rehearse. It is a mindset you install and protect, because the moment she texts after silence is not the moment to react. It is the moment to decide whether you will act from strength or from impulse. So lock this frame in now and don't let go of it, because you are not responding to her message. You are allowing access to your presence, and that distinction changes everything. Since she did not reach out because you chased, explained, or tried harder, she reached out because you went quiet, because space did the work for you, because silence created contrast. And if silence brought her back, then breaking that frame too fast is the fastest way to undo the very psychology tricks that worked in the first place. So don't rush. Don't overthink. Don't lean forward emotionally. Be calm. Be grounded. Be unrushed. Be unattached, because that internal state is the real source of power here, not clever wording or emotional restraint for show. This is not about pretending to be unbothered. That kind of performance leaks insecurity. This is about actually being unbothered, because during the silence you are not waiting, you are living, you are rebuilding focus, you are reconnecting with your value, your direction, your standards, your sense of self. And that is why, when you reply from this place, your words feel different, lighter, steadier, more natural, because they are not carrying expectation, they are not carrying hope, they are not carrying a need for reassurance. They are simply carrying presence. And presence is magnetic in a way that no tactic can fake, because female psychology responds first to emotional signals, not logical explanations. And when a man replies from calm certainty rather than emotional urgency, the dynamic shifts without him saying a single controlling word. She feels it. She senses that she does not fully have him figured out anymore, that she is not leading the emotional tempo, that access to him is no longer guaranteed. And this activates curiosity, which is one of the most misunderstood but powerful forces in how to fall in love, because attraction does not grow from comfort alone. It grows from mystery balanced with safety, from consistency balanced with unpredictability. And silence resets that balance, which is why your reply must protect it, not collapse it. So don't explain why you were gone. Don't apologize for having a life. Don't overinvest in the first message back. Be concise. Be warm, but not eager. Be open, but not exposed, because the goal is not to win her over in one text. The goal is to maintain the emotional posture that made her reach out. And this is where psychology tricks often get misunderstood, because the real trick is not manipulation, it is self-regulation. It is the ability to stay centered even when attention returns. And most men fail here, not because they lack value, but because they abandon the frame the moment validation appears. They rush to reestablish connection. They pour energy forward. They try to secure certainty. And in doing so, they remove the very tension that sparked interest. So you must resist that urge, not through force, but through clarity, by reminding yourself that her message is an invitation, not a reward. Access to you is something you allow, not something you beg for. And when you truly internalize that, your tone naturally slows down, your replies become cleaner, your timing becomes relaxed, and suddenly the interaction feels different on both sides. Because she is no longer engaging with a man who is waiting, she is engaging with a man who is choosing. And female psychology is deeply responsive to that shift because it signals emotional stability, self-respect, and independence, all of which create safety without boredom, interest without pressure. And that is the sweet spot where attraction grows, where conversations feel lighter yet more charged, where she starts investing not because she is pushed, but because she wants to close the gap. And that is why you must hold this power frame not just for one reply, but as a standard. Because once you see that calm presence creates pull, you stop chasing outcomes. You stop micromanaging responses. You stop trying to control how she feels. And paradoxically, that is when you become more attractive because how to fall in love is not about forcing emotion. It is about creating the conditions where emotion can arise naturally. And those conditions are created by a man who is rooted in his own life, his own purpose, his own rhythm, who responds rather than reacts, who allows connection rather than seeks approval, who understands psychology tricks well enough to know that the most effective one is mastering his internal state. Because when you are centered, your words don't need to impress, they just land. And when your words land, she feels it. She leans in. She wonders. She engages. Not because you tried harder, but because you stayed steady. And that is the power frame you must hold, quietly, consistently, without announcing it, without explaining it, without breaking it the moment attention returns. Because once you understand this, you don't just reply differently, you move differently. You relate differently. And you stop giving away your power in moments that are meant to test whether you truly have it. If this message hit home, don't just watch and move on. Like the video, subscribe for more unshakable psychology, and share this with a man who needs to hear it right now. And to lock this mindset in, drop this comment below and let it sink in. I don't react to messages. I allow access to my presence. Say it. Own it. That frame is power. 5. How and when to reply. When she texts after silence, the moment feels small, but the consequence is massive because how and when you reply decides whether you stay grounded or give your power away. The strongest reply is never rushed, never reactive, and never built on questions because questions reveal need, and need collapses leverage, while calm presence creates intrigue. And here is the truth most men never hear. Waiting is not manipulation. It is regulation. It is mastery. It is control over your internal state. Because power is not in speed. It is in composure. And replying only when you are calm, centered, and unattached is how you move like a man with an iron mind, not a man chasing emotional relief. In modern life, where phones vibrate nonstop and instant replies are expected, discipline stands out. Restraint stands out. Silence stands out. Because as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And that strength begins in the pause, not the message. Because when her name appears on your screen, your body reacts before your logic does. Heart rate rises. Adrenaline spikes. Memory floods in. And that chemical surge is not clarity. It is impulse. And replying from impulse is how men undo weeks of progress in seconds. So you wait, not to punish, not to play games, but to let the wave pass, to return to your body, to step back into the prefrontal cortex where strategy lives, instead of the limbic system where emotion rules. And for most situations, a few hours is ideal. Not instant, not dramatic, just natural distance. Because the goal is not absence. It is presence with control. And this waiting period is a buffer, a filter, a moment of self-command that ensures your response reflects who you are becoming, not who you were when you were reactive. Because a man practicing Old Stoic wisdom understands that mastery is internal first, external second. And Epictetus said it plainly, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and slow. And slow here does not mean confused. It means deliberate. It means composed. It means unshaken. And that composure is felt through the screen even when no words are spoken. Because energy precedes language. And when you reply from calm, you communicate stability without announcing it, certainty without explaining it, strength without force. And this is why Stoicism win is not about silence as a tactic, but silence as a state. A state where you are not hoping for an outcome, not fishing for reassurance, not chasing validation. Because the moment you hope, you lean forward. And leaning forward shifts power away from you. So instead, you ground yourself. You breathe. You move your body. You walk. You train. You speak to someone who keeps you objective. And you let the urgency dissolve. Because urgency is the enemy of authority. And authority comes from stillness. And when you finally reply, you are not reacting. You are allowing access, which is a very different frame. Because she reached out after silence, not you. And your job is not to analyze why, interrogate the gap, or reopen the past. Your job is to hold the frame that brought her back in the first place. Calm, grounded, unrushed, unattached. Because intrigue lives where certainty meets distance. And distance does not mean coldness. It means self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic in every era, especially today, where emotional chaos is common and discipline is rare. And this is where iron mind thinking separates men who repeat cycles from men who break them. Because reacting quickly feels productive but produces nothing, while waiting feels uncomfortable but creates leverage. And Seneca warned us long ago, no man is free who is not master of himself. And mastery is proven in moments exactly like this, when the phone lights up and the old version of you wants relief, explanation, closure, but the new version of you chooses regulation, clarity, and direction. And when you reply from that place, your words do not seek. They state, they do not chase, they invite, and they do not explain. They stand. And that is how you master not just this interaction, but life itself. Because the lesson is bigger than her message. It is about training yourself to pause before every emotional decision, every difficult reply, every charged moment. Because men who win are not faster. They are steadier. And steadiness compounds over time into confidence, clarity, and peace. And this is the essence of Old Stoic wisdom applied to modern dating, modern communication, modern pressure, where being centered is the ultimate advantage. And Stoicism win is about choosing long-term strength over short-term relief, choosing discipline over impulse, choosing presence over panic. Because when you control your timing, you control your tone. And when you control your tone, you control the frame. And when you control the frame, you lead without force, you attract without chasing, and you move through life with an iron mind that cannot be shaken by a single text, a single moment, or a single emotion. And that is how you regain power. Not instantly, but permanently. 6. What to say and why it works. What to say and why it works. This is where most men stumble, not because they lack intelligence, but because emotion hijacks clarity in the exact moment restraint matters most. So listen closely. Your reply should be short, neutral, warm, but detached, open-ended, without chasing. That is the formula. Anything more feels heavy. Anything less feels cold. And the men who master this balance are the ones who quietly stand apart because they understand that words are not just communication, they are positioning. Examples matter here, so pay attention. Hey, hope you've been well. Or, hey there, what's up? Or, hey, nice hearing from you. That's it. Full stop. No emojis. No emotional charge. No questions that beg. These replies may look simple, but simplicity is deceptive. Simplicity is power when everyone else is over-explaining. And this is exactly why these responses work. They do not apologize. They do not explain. They do not justify. And they do not seek reassurance. That is not accidental. That is intentional. Because the moment you explain yourself, you place yourself below the moment. The moment you justify, you give away authority. And the moment you seek reassurance, you hand over leverage. A high-value man does not need to announce his worth. He demonstrates it through restraint, through tone, through what he refuses to say. These responses are clean, simple, dignified. They acknowledge her presence without rewarding the absence, friendly without being overeager, open without being exposed. They leave space, but they don't create awkwardness. And that space is where curiosity lives. Curiosity is not created by effort. It is created by contrast. And contrast comes from calm. When you reply like this, you are not chasing momentum. You are allowing momentum to come to you. That is a subtle but critical shift. Because this kind of response keeps the ball in her court. She reached out, not you. That fact alone sets the frame. So now, if the conversation continues, she must invest. She must add energy. She must move it forward. You are not doing the heavy lifting. You are not reviving something. You are not repairing the past. You are simply responding with the same relaxed courtesy you would give an old acquaintance. And that neutrality levels the field. It removes emotional imbalance. It prevents overcorrection. And that is exactly what keeps her intrigued, because intrigue is born when someone cannot quite place where they stand with you. Not because you are unclear, but because you are centered. In modern dating, men are conditioned to believe they must perform to attract women. Perform faster, perform louder, perform more emotionally. But performance signals insecurity when it is unnecessary. A man grounded in masculine energy does not rush to prove interest. He allows interest to reveal itself. That is not manipulation. That is self-respect. And self-respect is felt immediately, even through a screen. You must understand this. Emotional neutrality is not indifference. It is stability. And stability is rare, especially today. Most people communicate from urgency, from anxiety, from the need to resolve uncertainty immediately. But uncertainty, when handled correctly, works in your favor. Do not rush to close the loop. Do not rush to define the moment. Do not rush to ask where things are going. Be present. Be polite. Be calm. That is enough. This is Old Stoic wisdom applied to modern communication. The Stoics understood that power comes from governing the self first, not the other person. When you respond without emotional weight, you show that your life is full, your time is valued, and your emotional state is not easily disturbed. That alone makes you stand out. And when men ask how to attract women without tricks or games, this is the answer they overlook. Presence, restraint, consistency. A high-value man does not try to win interactions. He lets interactions reveal alignment. That is a crucial distinction, because winning is exhausting. Alignment is effortless. And this response style filters without confrontation. It allows you to observe rather than react, to see whether her interest is real or momentary, to see whether she invests or fades. Either outcome gives you clarity, and clarity is always a win. You must remember this. Your goal is not to restart something at all costs. Your goal is to remain grounded regardless of outcome. That is where true masculine energy lives. Calm under pressure, light in tone, firm in boundary. When you reply like this, you are not withholding. You are regulating. You are not cold. You are composed. And composure communicates confidence louder than any clever line ever could. Men who master this approach notice something interesting over time. Conversations feel lighter. Women invest more. Pressure disappears. Because the interaction is no longer driven by fear of loss. It is driven by curiosity and mutual effort. That is the environment where attraction grows naturally. And this is why the advice sounds almost too simple. Because simple things feel unimpressive to an anxious mind. But simplicity, when backed by discipline, becomes rare. And rarity creates value. Do not overthink the message. Do not decorate it. Do not soften it with emojis. Do not inject emotion where none is required. Say less. Mean more. Let your calm do the work. Let your steadiness speak. Let her show you who she is next. That is how a high-value man moves. That is how you attract women without chasing. That is how masculine energy stays intact, quiet, and undeniable. All right, my friend, we're going to wrap this up strong. Listen carefully. One sentence can change the entire dynamic. Not because it's clever, not because it's manipulative, but because it shows control. When you don't punish her, don't reward her, and don't reveal where you stand emotionally, you stay grounded, calm, unrushed. That's credibility. That's strength. Here's the real advice I want you to take with you. Stop trying to manage her reaction. Start managing your own state. When you care less about the outcome, you stop leaking neediness. When you stop chasing clarity, you create space. And in that space, curiosity grows. Attraction grows. Respect grows. Remember this: comfort kills attraction. Predictability makes people relax, but uncertainty makes them feel. And feeling is what pulls someone back in. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. Your silence, your restraint, your composure already said enough. If this video helped you understand female psychology and your own power a little more, Take this lesson into your life. Move calmly. Speak simply. Act from strength, not fear. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. And I'll see you in the next one.